Welcome to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 181 Yagamasa Michi is special? Feeling Gojo Satoru's strong emotional fluctuations, Gojo Ming nodded secretly. What he feared the most was that if Gojo Zaiyu kept his emotions inside every day and couldn't vent them, this paranoid guy would sooner or later go down the same path as before. However, Gojo Naru is not a god after all, and his understanding of Gojo Satoru's mentality can only be based on some details in the original work, and he cannot fully control the changes in Gojo Satoru's mentality. He is now watching Xiaoyuja from the side, and perhaps he can pull the reins of Xiaoyuja's distorted mentality in time. If he is not watching Xiaoyuja next to him, Xiaoyuja's mentality may still be affected by external things. But this is no longer what Gojo Naruto needs to think about. At this moment, the three-member support team from the association finally arrived at the battlefield and came to the side of Yajiyoshimon and Gojo Satoru. It is indeed the six eyes of the Gojo family. The other one is Zenin Shinji, and there is also the astral body Jujuyuki, the genius of reverse curse technique Iiri Shoko. Sekigakai Sekaiji looked at the group of people standing next to Gojo Satoru and felt deeply the luxury of this lineup. According to the strength of this group of people, they can kill the three of them silently. In fact, there is no need for this group of people. All we need is Zenin Jinner and his Zanpakuto Hanaten Kyokotsu. However, no matter how luxurious the lineup is, the core of this group of people is the young boy with white hair and blue eyes who has a calm face and stands next to Gojo Satoru. The boy's eyes were like mist, his eyelashes and hair were pure white, and there was another identical twin next to him. This indicates that the twins are the six eyes godchildren of this generation of the Gojo family. The two Zanpakuto sheathed at the boy's waist further confirmed his identity. This person is none other than Gojo Naru, the forger of Zanpakuto, the six eyes godson of the Gojo family, the bearer of the heaven and curse binding, and the one who, at a young age, was able to repel the domain-level cursor. The pillar of fire that shot up into the sky just now came from one of the two Zanpakuto on his waist. If Sekigakai Sekaiji and the other two were still somewhat curious before the meeting, after the actual meeting, they were left with only shock in their hearts. After all, the child in front of him was too young, only 6 years old. What can a 6-year-old do? Under normal circumstances, they may not even have started primary school. The two six-eyes sons of God from the Gojo family can now begin to exorcise cursed spirits, and establish their own power and connect their own relationships in this society. Yagamasa Michi looked at the two young children in front of him, and he had the idea of helping them to establish a complete worldview. At this moment, he felt that one of his responsibilities was to make this group of young people in front of him the pillars of the future world of sorcery. Yaga, what are you thinking about? As Nishiongshi's voice sounded, Yagamasa Michi was stunned for a moment, pushed his glasses, and came to his senses. Only then did he realize that Gojo Ming was looking at him with a playful look on his face, as if he knew him. As the core of the team, Gojo Naru looked at him, and naturally everyone else looked at him with curiosity. Even Iiri Shoko, who was currently treating Yajiyoshimon, was not surprised. Is there something on my face? Being watched by so many people, Yagamasa Michi, who is still a technical high school student, looked a little embarrassed. Fortunately, he was wearing sunglasses, so even if it was too embarrassing, no one would notice anything. Gojo Naru was a little surprised when he saw the young Yagamasa Michi, even though he looked like a future gangster with the sunglasses on. However, he did not expect that Yagamasa Michi was so young and handsome at this time. His figure was sturdy and strong, and his physique was not inferior to that of Chan Yuanshire. If he didn't know that Yagamasa Michi mainly fights with cursed corpses, Gojo Naru would really have preconceived that he was a master of physical skills. Zenin Shinji and others began to look at Yagamasa Michi carefully, and even Sekigakai Sekaiji, the strongest among the three, was overshadowed by Yagamasa Michi. What does this man in sunglasses do? Why is Ming paying so much attention to him? Is there something worth paying attention to? He doesn't look that strong. Gojo Satoru frowned slightly, and Six Eyes kept scanning Yagamasa Michi like a laser, trying to find out what was special about Yagamasa Michi. The body looks quite strong. How does it compare to the heaven and curse? Zenin Jinner silently looked at Yagamasa Michi, thinking about how many punches he would need to throw if he wanted to defeat him. This person doesn't look like a good person at all. He's wearing sunglasses in this weather? Is he pretending to be a gangster? His cursed power is quite strong. Jujuyuki raised his eyebrows and didn't care much about Yagamasa Michi. After all, although the opponent was strong, he was still not as strong as himself. Even Gojo Satoru, who was feeling depressed, looked up subconsciously. After all, there were not many people who could attract Gojo Naru's attention. I don't know how far the principal's cursed skeleton has been developed. The panda shouldn't be born yet, right? The technique of completely independent curse corpse could be considered very promising. If it could get support from a large family or the top management of an association, the principal's curse corpse technique could even make him a one-man army. In the entire Jujutsu Kaisen world, the only two people who can truly be called a one-man army are probably Yagamasa Michi and Gojo Satoru. The cursed spirits absorbed by Gojo Satoru through his own cursed spirit manipulation technique. Yagamasa Michi used his own curse corpse technique to create an independent curse corpse. Gojo Naru felt that he had somewhat neglected the named characters in the original work. Since I am a time traveler, how can I limit my vision like this? The principal, Yagamasa Michi, and Nanami Kento, who is supposed to be younger than Gojo Satoru, and it seems that there are also Mei Mei and the others, all of whom are the future strong men in the world of spellcasting. It is also a good choice to be able to treat them as your own experience packs in advance. Moreover, people like Yagamasa Michi who possess lost technology should never be ignored. Should I forge a Zanpakuto for Principal Yaga? If I do, what kind of Zanpakuto should I forge for the principal? There don't seem to be many Zanpakuto that can be used in conjunction with the cursed corpse. Should we help Principal Yaga pair a Kido type Zanpakuto? Just as Gojo Ming was deep in thought, a roar was heard from the sky. Along with the rainbow dragon's painful roar, everyone's attention was once again drawn to the battle in the sky. Chapter 182 Flesh Drop Healing Technique. In the sky, Honglong, who had been attacked by Ryujinjaka before, was no match for Nishizuku. Under Iiri Shoko's command, Nishizuku was as agile as a manta ray, continuously emitting energy waves, 1, 2, 3, constantly focusing on the rainbow dragon. The pale Japanese dragon was flying crookedly in the sky, and after struggling to hold on for more than 10 seconds, it fell from the sky. It hit the ground hard, splashing up thick dust. It's over. This exorcism mission seems to have ended. The culprit of all this, the special grade cursed spirit rainbow dragon, has been dealt with by Nishizuku, and Gojo Satoru and Yajiyoshimon have also been rescued. Shi Yongsha breathed a sigh of relief. He glanced at Yajiyoshimon who was unconscious on the side. Fortunately, he was not dead, otherwise, he really didn't know how to deal with the Yajiyo family. Just when the three supporting teams thought the dust had settled, Yajiyoshimon suddenly started coughing violently, and his face went from pale to an unusually flushed color. Yajiyoshimon's injuries were too severe, and Joko's reverse curse technique could only provide simple treatment but could not completely solve the problem. The expressions of Sekigakai Sekaiji, Yagamasa Michi, and Nishinagaki changed. Getting rid of the special grade cursed spirit is not the key. Their mission this time was to rescue Yajiyoshimon. If they managed to get rid of Honglong but failed to rescue Yajiyoshimon, then their mission would be considered a failure. Yagamasa Michi approaches Yajiyoshimon and wants to check on his health. However, Gojo Ming stopped him directly. Gojo Naru, right? Let me go over and take a look. Yajiose-mon's condition is very serious. In Yagamasa-Mika's opinion, injuries that could not be cured by the reverse curse technique were definitely not ordinary. However, to his surprise, Gojo Ming just shook his head and said softly, "Trust Joko, she is the most professional among us. When it comes to the use of reverse curse technique, even Chief Iiri Inamitsu can't compare to Shoko." Gojo Naru's tone was very arrogant, but Yagamasa did not doubt it. After all, they had no say in the reverse curse technique. However, the reverse curse technique is not a panacea. Now it seems that Yajiose-mon was not cured by Iiri Shoko's reverse curse technique, right? Although Yagamasa can't think of any treatment method now, but at least he should try his best, right? Otherwise, what's the point of the three of them coming here? Yagamasa is still unwilling to give up, and Gojo Naruto admires the state very much. He is worthy of being the mentor of the Gojo Satoru trio in the future. However, even so, he still couldn't let Yagamasa get close to Yajiose-mon, because he knew that Joko still had his own methods. Although the reverse curse technique had no effect on Yajiose-mon, didn't Joko have other methods? Gojo Naru glanced at the flying Nishizuku in the sky. The healing skills of this big ray were not inferior to the reverse curse technique. Shoko only needed to use Nishizuku's technique to heal Yajiose-mon. And everything happened just as Gojo Naruto had imagined. Iiri Shoko recalled Nishizuku from the sky and did not deal a fatal blow to the rainbow dragon. The huge manta ray twisted its flexible body and swooped down from the sky. The movement was so fierce that Sekigakai Sekiji, Yagamasa and Nishinagaki subconsciously took a step back. It looked to them as if the giant manta ray was about to attack them. Rao Shizuku swooped down, slid across the ground, and then landed silently on the open space beside her. The trio didn't know what Iiri Shoko was doing, but when they came to their senses, they found that Yajiose-mon, who was originally beside Iiri Shoko, had disappeared. But this huge light green ray is constantly moving its mouth, as if it is chewing something? Yajiose-mon was eaten by this one-eyed giant ray? Why did Gojo Naru do this? Yagamasa didn't know that Nishizuku Satoshi was controlled by Iiri Shoko, so he first thought it was Gojo Naru's order. He subconsciously glanced at Gojo Naru who was blocking his way, then turned around and rushed towards Nishizuku-sa. He couldn't let Yajiose-mon be eaten by the cursed spirit like this. Why did Gojo Naruto allow his cursed spirit to eat people? Didn't Yajiose-mon obtain the Zanpakuto Hana from Gojo Naruto? Aren't the Yagio and Gojo families very close? Why did Gojo Naruto allow this cursed spirit to eat Yajiose-mon? Yagamasa didn't understand, but he had to save people first. However, Gojo Naruto did not let Yagamasa pass by, and immediately appeared in front of Yagamasa with a flash step. "Get out of the way, Gojo Naruto." Yagamasa gathered the cursed energy in his right fist, preparing to blast out a black flash. Although he is famous for his curse corpse in the Jujutsu High School, his close combat ability is not inferior to others. Gojo Naru is very powerful, but Yagamasa is not afraid. As long as he stays close to Gojo Naru and prevents him from drawing his Zanpakuto to release the technique, his chances of winning should be greater. Yagamasa was a little too confident, but Gojo Naruto had no intention of testing the current principal's strength. At the moment when he was about to use the black flash, he directly used his body bound by heaven and curse to forcibly stop Yagamasa attack and explained in a deep voice. "This is the technique of Nishizuku Sasha. Nishizuku Sasha will swallow the injured to heal them. After Yajiose-mon is vomited out, he will be fully healed." Gojo Naru's words made Yagamasa body stiffen, with an expression of disbelief. How could he have such ability? Isn't this huge green ray in front of me a cursed spirit? Facing the suspicion in Yagamasa eyes, Gojo pointed at Joko who had his eyes closed. At this moment, Nishizuku is using Shoko's power to treat Yajiose-mon. The more serious the injury, the more cursed power Shoko will provide. If you attack Nishizuku Sasa, it will also affect Shoko's treatment of Yajiose-mon. So, Principal Yaga, what are you going to do? Continue the attack? Or give up? Gojo Naru's playful voice put Yaga Masamichi in a dilemma. After a moment of silence, Yaga Masamichi dispersed the cursed power on his right fist and shook his head awkwardly. I was too impatient and didn't understand the situation. Also, I'm just a student of the technical high school, not the principal. The principal is this. Yaga Masamichi pointed at Sekigakai Sekaiji, who was standing beside him. Sekigakai Sekaiji was also very embarrassed. Gojo Ming smiled silently, not knowing what to say. I made a slip of the tongue. This former principal has such a low sense of presence. Chapter 183, G. Come and subdue Honglong. After learning about Nishizuku's treatment method, everyone at the scene was silent. Whether it was the supporting trio or Gojo Satoru's group, they were all surprised by Nishizuku's healing behavior. But the only thing to be thankful for is that it seems that Yajiose-mon will not be in any life-threatening danger. After Sayuji realized this, he also breathed a sigh of relief. In this mission, Yajiose-mon can be said to have helped him a lot. Without Yajiose-mon's protection, perhaps Gojo Satoru would not be able to stand here safely at this moment. The whole scene seemed to have fallen into silence. Sekigakai Seiji, Yaga Masamichi, and Nishinagaki didn't know what to do. Should they go back and report now? This is a bit inappropriate. After all, there is no confirmed news about Yajiose-mon. However, just standing there seemed a bit awkward. At this moment, Gojo Naruto glanced at Gojo Satoru and said, "Gee, your life skills are very powerful, but, most of the time, you can't control it. Isn't it disgusting to swallow a rag that has been used to handle vomit and feces?" Sayuji's body was shocked, and he looked up at Gojo Ming, his face full of shock. He could confirm that he had never told anyone about this feeling, so why did Gojo Naruto know the feeling of swallowing the cursed spirit ball? Even if Gojo Naruto knew that the cursed spirit ball tasted strange, why was Gojo Naruto able to know the accurate description in his heart? The most important thing is that Gojo Ming's description of the taste is exactly the same as what he felt in his heart. This is too scary. Could it be that Gojo Naruto can read my inner thoughts? Sayuji's eyes widened and he subconsciously took 2 steps back, not knowing how to respond to Gojo Naru. Seeing Gojo Satoru's performance, Gojo Ming smiled and didn't care too much. Instead, he shifted his attention to Honglong beside him. Although Rainbow Dragon was in a very bad state under the attack of Rao Shizuku and had basically no strength to fight, the body of this Oriental dragon was still very shocking. Gojo Ming walked silently to the side of Honglong, patted its huge body, and said to Sayuji, "If you want to maximize the power of the curse spirit manipulation technique, then you have to overcome this idea. I know that the taste of the curse spirit ball is very disgusting. After all, the birth of the curse spirit is closely related to human negative emotions. How can it taste good? But, gee, are you ready to give up your life-saving technique?" "Not prepared." Wu Tiaoming raised the corner of his mouth slightly and pursed his lips at Honglong beside him. "I'm giving you this opportunity. This is a special grade curse spirit, and you came here on purpose to find it. What do you think? Do you want to absorb it?" Sayuji's expression was a little ugly. He had tried to subdue the rainbow dragon before, but he had not been able to subdue it before it evolved into a special grade. Now that the rainbow dragon had become a special grade cursed spirit, how could he subdue it? Gojo Satoru felt that Gojo Naru seemed to be laughing at him. However, Gojo Naru's next words moved him. "Jay, if you can subdue the rainbow dragon, I will give you the Zanpakuto that I made for you. Since the curse spirit manipulation technique is your innate technique, Then show me your power. Gojo Naru's words were full of temptation, and even Gojo Satoru didn't understand why Gojo Naru did this. Asking Gojo Satoru, who is only 6 years old, to subdue a special grade cursed spirit? Gojo Satoru doesn't think Gojo Satoru can do it. The previous failure to subdue Luhu has already proved Gojo Zaiyu's current condition, and the continued failure of Honglong this time made Gojo Satoru feel that Gojo Zaiyu is not yet at the level where he can subdue a special grade cursed spirit. However, Gojo Satoru was unaware of Gojo Ming's painstaking efforts. For Gojo Naruto, the bond between Gojo Suguru and Gojo Satoru should be difficult to break. In this case, he must carefully consider Gojo Suguru's future situation. The reason why Gojo Zaiyu will reach that point in the future is actually because of the pressure of constantly devouring cursed spirits. This feeling and the accumulation of various negative emotions made Saiyuja finally make that decision. And now, what Gojo Naruto is doing is to make Gojo Suguru accept his birth technique and accept this weird taste. If Gojo Zaiyu wants to subdue Honglong, then he must overcome his inner resistance. Otherwise, with his current strength, he would not be able to subdue the special grade cursed spirit. Being able to overcome his psychological resistance, Gojo Suguru will have a greater breakthrough in the speed of improving his strength. If you want to become stronger, you have to pay a price. How is it possible to become stronger without paying any price? Faced with Gojo Naru's proposal, Sekigakai Sekaiji, Yagamasa Michi, and Nishinaga Shu all looked at Gojo Suguru. They didn't know the details of Gojo Suguru's cursed spirit manipulation technique, but they knew that this was a very good opportunity. You know, Gojo Naruto's Zanpakuto has been sold at a sky-high price in the current curse world. Even the price of a special grade cursed tool cannot compare to Gojo Naruto's Zanpakuto. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. No matter what, Gojo Zaiyu should give it a try. But Kyojoku Yuki, Zenin Shinji, and Gojo Satoru knew that things were not that simple. If Gojo Zaiyu could really subdue special grade cursed spirits at will, he would not have missed a special grade cursed spirit like Luhu in Hongxin Palace before. After all, no matter how you look at it, Luhu is stronger than Honglongjao. They all knew that taming the rainbow dragon would definitely be a huge challenge for Gojo Suguru. In this situation, both groups were waiting for Gojo Zaiyu's answer. What choice will Gojo Zaiyu make? Come on, Jay, what decision will you make? Gojo Ming stood beside Honglong with a smile on his face. He gracefully stretched out his right hand and made an inviting gesture to Zaiyu Ji. Ji, come on, let me see your determination. I know the potential of your technique. Now you definitely have the ability to subdue the rainbow dragon. Curse spirit manipulation technique, you haven't really discovered its power yet, the technique of manipulating top-grade curse spirits, or even extracting curse spirits. Gee, this is your reliance as a boss in the future. At the same time, this is also the reason why your body will be coveted by Noose in the future. Completely control your own body, control your own techniques, control your own strength, do not give yourself the chance to die, and do not give Noose the chance to obtain your body. Gojo Naruto is looking forward to Gojo Suguru's decision. He actually already had the answer in his mind, but he still looked forward to seeing Gojo Zaiyu take that step with his own eyes. Chapter 184, Saiyuja's Fierceness. Everyone looked at Gojo Suguru walking to Gojo Naru's side, with different expressions on their faces. Yagamasa Michi and the other two thought that Gojo Suguru really cared more about his Zanpakuto. Gojo Satoru and the other two knew that this was a challenge to themselves. I will complete the capture of the rainbow dragon. Saiyuja's eyes were full of determination. Everyone can brag. Gojo Ming raised his eyebrows and gave his seat to Gojo Suguru. I need to accept your technique. If you have this kind of rejection mentality, you won't be able to subdue the special grade curse spirit with your strength. Gojo Ming gave the final hint and walked back to Gojo Satoru and the others. Saiyuja held his breath and concentrated, and a tense atmosphere began to emerge around him. Jujutsu walked behind Gojo Naru, hugged Gojo Naru's neck from behind, pressed his huge and plump breasts on Gojo Naru's shoulders, and said with a chuckle, "Even though you said you don't want to give the Zanpakuto to Gojo Satoru, in reality, you still have to give it to him. Even if Gojo Zayu really can't subdue Rainbow Dragon, you will definitely give Kizuna Maru to Gojo Zayu to use." Jujutsu was full of certainty when he spoke, and a confident smile appeared on his delicate face. Smelling the greasy aroma, Gojo Ming gave Jujutsu a look with an expression that said, "You're so smart." It was indeed just as Yuki Kyojoku imagined. Kizuna Maru was originally created for Gojo Satoru. This time, the reason why I said I wouldn't give it to Gojo Satoru was to poo this guy Gojo Satoru. But, being exposed like this, don't you have any face left? It seems that there is less and less sense of boundary between Jujutsu and me. You know, before Tenjin completed the Bankai of Yulu Jelu, he still needed to rely on astral plasma to maintain his consciousness. What the hell is this that Jujutsu is letting himself go right now? Not far away, Honglong suddenly began to struggle violently. Although Nishizuka no longer has any ability to resist, its huge body is still a considerable threat to a weak human. When Gojo Zayu's right hand touched him, Honglong felt a sense of loss of control. If he allowed Gojo Satoru to release the technique, Honglong knew that he might not be free in the future. This is not the ending it wants to accept. Feeling the Rainbow Dragon's cursed power gathering towards his right hand, Xiaoyuja breathed a sigh of relief. As long as you start absorbing the cursed energy, this is a good start. However, the good times did not last long, as Honglong's reaction began to affect the gathering of cursed energy. The ball of cursed power in Gojo Satoru's hand has not yet taken shape, and Rainbow Dragon's will is still resisting Gojo Satoru. Faced with this situation, a trace of pain flashed in Xiaoyuja's eyes. Sure enough, it is still very difficult to subdue the special grade cursed spirit. This scene is exactly the same as the scene where Rainbow Dragon was subdued in front of Yajiozamon before. Are we going to experience failure again? Zyuji recalled the expectation in Gojo Naruto's eyes just now, and thought about how he was about to pass by his Zanpakuto, and the pain in his heart became even more intense. If he could not tame the Rainbow Dragon and obtain his Zanpakuto, the gap between him and Gojo Naruto and Gojo Satoru would only get bigger. This Rainbow Dragon is the foundation of his existence. If he could subdue the Rainbow Dragon, and use the Zanpakuto that Gojo Naruto made for him, then even if he encountered a cursed spirit like Rokugo in the future, he would have the confidence to fight it and try to subdue it using the cursed spirit manipulation technique. The premise of all this is that he can conquer Honglong. Gojo Zayu subconsciously turned his head and glanced at Gojo Ming. This white-haired boy opened his pair of azure blue eyes and his white eyelashes fluttered constantly. He felt Gojo Naru's expectations and trust. Different from Gojo Satoru, Zenin Shinji, and others who were skeptical, Gojo Ming really believed that he could tame Honglong. A look of determination flashed across Xiaoyuja's face, and he placed both of his hands on Honglong's body. He wanted to do it, and he would do it. Isn't that the disgusting smell? Can this taste compare to the feeling of vulnerability of losing to someone else? He, Gojo Satoru, didn't want to lose to anyone, not even Six Eyes from the Gojo family, not even the Zanpakuto Smith who was famous throughout the world of sorcery. Come on, come on. I accept it. I'll just pretend that I have no sense of taste. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in Xiaoyuja's eyes. At this moment, Gojo Zayu completely cut off his sense of taste. As long as he couldn't taste anything, his resistance to the curse spirit manipulation technique would naturally no longer exist. If you can't solve it psychologically, then solve it directly from a physiological perspective. By blocking his sense of taste through cursed power, Gojo Satoru's expression became distorted. At the same time, he completely accepted his own birth technique. He had completely forgotten what the rag smelled like. At this moment, the cursed spirit manipulation technique was completely controlled by Gojo Satoru. Rainbow Dragon's struggle became more and more intense. When everyone thought that Gojo Satoru could not tame Rainbow Dragon, a powerful cursed force was extracted from Rainbow Dragon. As everyone was watching, the Rainbow Dragon transformed into a ball of light flowing with strange colors and appeared in Gojo Satoru's hand. Is this the cursed spirit manipulation technique? Gojo Satoru's face was full of curiosity. This was the first time he had seen such a technique. Six Eyes of the Gojo family was quickly analyzing Gojo Satoru's technique. He was very curious about the principle behind Gojo Satoru's technique and why he could control so many cursed spirits at the same time. There was also a hint of surprise in Chanyu and Shen's eyes. Although he didn't know much about the technique, Gojo Satoru's actions just now made him feel that Gojo Satoru had given up something. He resolutely gave up certain things in exchange for the opportunity to completely master the technique. Zenonshiji didn't know what Sayuja gave up, but he knew that this thing was definitely very precious. At the same time, he also had a new understanding of Gojo Satoru. Although he felt that Gojo Satoru was still unable to compete with Gojo Naru, in his opinion, Gojo Satoru at this time might become a parallel existence with Gojo Satoru in the future. Gojo Satoru and Gojo Satoru will become famous masters in the world of sorcery in the future. Of course, the strongest people should still be myself and Gojo Naru. The light in Jujutsu's eyes grew brighter and brighter. What she cares about is not Gojo Satoru. Whether Gojo Satoru fails or succeeds has nothing to do with him. What she cared about was the meaning of what Gojo Naru had said before. The success of Gojo Satoru means that Gojo Naru's dark words have been confirmed. Something that shouldn't have happened happened. Gojo Satoru shouldn't have completed the taming of the special grade cursed spirit at this age. He should at least wait until Gojo Satoru is twice as old before he can achieve this level. However, under the guidance of Gojo Naru, Gojo Satoru did it. Chapter 185 Summoning the Rainbow Dragon. Gojo Naru, who are you? Jujutsu's curiosity about Gojo Naru grows stronger and stronger, and at the same time, his affection for Gojo Naru also grows stronger and stronger. The mysterious Gojo Naru is like a deadly poison to Jujutsu. If before, Kyojoku regarded Lord Tenjin as a god and prophet in this world. So, after meeting Gojo Naru, Lord Tenjin's position was replaced by Gojo Naru. The mysterious Gojo Naru, the riddle-like Gojo Naru, the Gojo Naru who seemed to know everything, all these made Jujutsu more and more obsessed. She was looking forward to discovering more secrets around Gojo Naru. As for other people, whether it was Gojo Satoru, Gojo Satoru, or Zenonshiji who possessed the power of heaven and curse, she was no longer that curious about them. Before, she had always wanted to use Tianyujufu, a being with no cursed power at all, as her test subject to eliminate the cursed spirit. Now, Gojo Naru has fulfilled all her needs. As long as Gojo Naru can cooperate with her, then nothing else will be a problem. While Kyojoku was daydreaming, Gojo Satoru held the blue curse ball in his hand and slowly moved it closer to him. This curse ball is very big, worthy of being the incarnation of a special grade curse spirit. It is different from all the curse balls he has come into contact with before. Everyone's eyes were focused on Gojo Satoru's hands. They also wanted to know how Gojo Satoru would use the curse spirit manipulation technique next. In full view of everyone, Sayuja opened his mouth wide, and the entire blue curse ball seemed to be twisted and was swallowed into his mouth. At this moment, everyone present finally understood why Gojo Naru said that. Although I didn't taste it myself, but the thought of swallowing this cursed energy gathered from negative emotions made it impossible for it to taste good. The feeling of swallowing a rag that has been used to handle vomit and feces. Thinking of Gojo Naru's description just now, Gojo Satoru, Sekigakai Seiji, Yagamasu and Nishinaga Shu all felt nauseous. How could anyone possibly swallow this kind of taste? They finally understood why it was so difficult for Gojo Satoru to use the technique of life. Who can bear this kind of thing? Not to mention swallowing it all the time. Even if they were asked to swallow it once, it would probably be a little difficult. Only Gojo Naru looked evil, Iiri Shoko looked calm, and Kyojoku Yuki looked indifferent at the scene. Gojo Naruto had known that the scene would happen, and knew that this was the only way for Gojo Satoru to control the cursed spirit, so there was nothing surprising about it. Iiri Shoko was concentrating on providing the cursed energy to Nishizuka to treat Yajiyo-simon. As for Yuki Kyojoku, her situation was even simpler. She didn't care at all whether Gojo Satoru could control the rainbow dragon. To her, all this was meaningless. As the blue curse ball twisted and the entire cursed power was swallowed by Gojo Satoru, the remains of the rainbow dragon that had originally stayed on the ground completely dissipated. Gojo Satoru's power became even stronger, and in the six eyes of Gojo Satoru and Gojo Naruto, the negative emotions entangled with Gojo Satoru became even more intense. As expected. How could Gojo Satoru not become a pervert if he continues to devour cursed spirits like this? This is the result after Gojo Satoru completely gave up his sense of taste. It is really hard to imagine how strong the negative emotions would be if Gojo Satoru still swallowed the curse ball with that kind of reluctance mentality. Gojo Ming was watching secretly from the side. According to the current situation, he must pay more attention to Gojo Satoru's development of the life technique in the future. However, the look Gojo Satoru gave Suguru Gojo was much simpler. Gojo Satoru only has pure concern for Gojo Suguru. The only person of his age whom he could consider a friend, besides Shoko, was Gojo Suguru. He was against Gojo Naruto letting Gojo Suguru forcibly subdue Rainbow Dragon. This behavior seemed very dangerous to Gojo Satoru. Although Gojo Suguru finally successfully completed this action, the pressure he bore was far beyond his age. Gojo Satoru didn't want his friend to change his personality because of something like this. As the rise and fall of Gojo Zaiyu's chest gradually became calm, the solemnity in the air also slowly subsided. In an instant, Zaiyu's body trembled and he burped. The negative emotions that originally surrounded him disappeared instantly, and he became much more normal. Ming, I'm done. Gojo Suguru's expression returned to calm and he looked at Gojo Naru. For this cursed spirit, he gave up his sense of taste. From then on, he was completely isolated from food. Although he could get a rare Zanpakuto because of this, he still felt a little regretful in his heart. After all, no one wants to lose something for no reason. Although, it seems that taste is not that important. Gojo Ming narrowed his eyes and nodded. He still approved of Gojo Suguru's determination and decision. Such a person would definitely be a figure in the world of sorcery in the future. Under the gazes of everyone, Zaiyuja waved his right hand, and in the torn space, a white oriental dragon appeared directly from the crack. Rainbow Dragon. This white oriental dragon looks exactly like the previous rainbow dragon, except for its size. The only difference between the two is that the rainbow dragon summoned by Gojo Suguru is slightly smaller than the previous one. However, the pressure from the special grade cursed spirit still exists. At this moment, no one could regard Gojo Suguru as a 6-year-old child. At least, this child already possessed the strength of a special grade cursed spirit. The strength of this special grade cursed spirit is enough to crush sorcerers of level 2 and below. Although, it seems that Gojo Suguru's strength is not as good as his peers Gojo Satoru and Gojo Naruto, but below the two of them, basically no one can be his opponent. Among their peers, the three of them are already the pinnacle of the entire sorcery world, and special beings like Shoko are more used for backup support. In real battles, they cannot compare with Gojo Naruto, Gojo Satoru, and Gojo Suguru. Fortunately, this time Gojo Naru forged a Meat Shizuku for Shoko, so Shoko could at least summon Meat Shizuku to assist in the battle. Nishizuka's strength is at least comparable to that of a special grade cursed spirit, and she also has the ability to perform healing rituals. Although this cannot make Shoko a top combat force, it can at least allow Shoko to have the ability to protect herself in the world of curses. Wet nurses are very necessary in this world. Chapter 186, Rao Shizuku, spit it out. Gee, you have fulfilled the previous agreement. Gojo Naruto smiled and nodded. Xiaoyuja also breathed a sigh of relief and recovered Honglong. It takes a lot of effort to tame the rainbow dragon. He released the rainbow dragon to prove it to Gojo Naruto. Geto Xiaoyu knew that everything Gojo Naru did was to bring out his potential. However, deep in his heart, he still had a slight resistance and even a slight fear towards Gojo Naruto. He feels very easy to get along with Gojo Satoru, but feels very stressed when getting along with Gojo Naruto. Among his peers, Gojo Naruto is like a king sitting in the sky looking down at everyone. Geto Suguru really doesn't know who can truly defeat Gojo Naruto. Even the unlimited techniques, 10 shadow techniques, and red blood manipulation techniques that have left their mark in the history of the entire curse world, would only end in regret in front of Gojo Naruto's Zanpakuto and the heaven and curse binding, right? Such an idea even occurred to Geto Suguru. Does Gojo Naru really have no techniques? Perhaps, Gojo Naruto's birth technique is the forging of Zanpakuto. Perhaps, only in this way can we explain clearly why Gojo Naruto was able to create this cursed tool that has never appeared in the world of sorcery. Geto Xiaoyu didn't dare to think too much about it. Gojo Naru's identity was full of mystery. It was the secret of the big three sorcerer families. Since neither the Zenin family nor the Kumo family made any comments, why should he, an ordinary sorcerer born in an ordinary family, think so much? At least, Gojo Naruto recognized me and made my Zanpakuto for me, right? Thinking of this, Xiaoyuja was looking forward to what his Zanpakuto would look like. After Geto Suguru tamed the rainbow dragon, Yagamasa Michi and the other two also breathed a sigh of relief. The cursed spirit subdued by Geto Suguru was successfully exorcised, and they have completed half of the mission this time. Next, it depends on the situation of Yajiyosimon. As the three people's eyes were focused on Nishizuku, who was still chewing, Iiri Shoko's closed eyes slowly opened. Because her cursed energy was almost drained, Iiri Shoko's face turned pale. Gojo Naru came to Shoko's side and supported her to stand up. He had always been confident in the healing effect of Nishizuku, but he did not expect that it would consume so much of Shoko's cursed energy. He helped Shoko to come to Nishizuku's side. Nishizuku stared at Shoko with her one eye, seeming a little confused. Mura, my cursed power can no longer support Nishizuku to continue repairing Uncle Yajiyo-Simon's body. Iiri Shoko's words caused the expressions of Yagamasa Michi and the other two to change. What does this mean? Could it be that what Gojo Naru just said was all a lie? Iiri Shoko cannot heal Yajiyo-Simon? Gojo Ming nodded. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Shoko, you've worked hard. This is also your first time using Nishizuku's healing technique, so it's normal for this accident to happen. What is Yajiyo-Simon's current condition? Gojo Naruto didn't feel worried by Shoko's words. Even if others didn't know, how could he not know? Even if Iiri Shoko's cursed power was not enough to support the complete repair of Yajiyo-Simon's body, it had been repaired for such a long time, Yajiyo-Simon would not still be in the previous dangerous state. Iiri Shoko shook her head. Her relationship with Nishizuku was not close enough, so she could only feel that Yajiyo-Simon was still alive in Nishizuku's body, but she didn't know the specific situation. Gojo Naru, quickly let this cursed spirit spit out Simon. We need to recheck his condition. Sekigakai Sekaiji's expression became very serious. He knew that the Yajiyo family was currently vying for votes from the association's top leaders. If everything went well, the Yajiyo family, which had 2 first-level sorcerers, would be able to obtain a spot. If the Yagyu family lost a first-level sorcerer who had finally awakened because of the association's mission this time, he could hardly imagine what the Yagyu family would do. Yagimasamichi and Nishinagaki also had serious expressions. They both knew the importance of Yagyu-zamon's safety. Upon hearing this, Gojo Ming glanced at the three of them indifferently, his expression looking very calm. This indifferent attitude made Sekigakai Sekaiji and the other two feel a little disappointed. They had all heard of the relationship between Yagyu-samon and Gojo Naru. As Gojo Naru's most staunch follower of the Yagyu family, it seemed that he came to carry out the purification mission this time in order to break through his own strength and complete the so-called Bankai opportunity of his Zanpakuto. Now, under this situation, Gojo Naruto is so cold. I wonder what Yagyu-samon will think after knowing this. However, if Yagyu-samon can't make it this time, he won't be bothered by Gojo Naru's attitude. Humans really only want to see what they want to see. Sekigakai Kiyoshi and the other two all thought of Gojo Naru's indifference at this time, but they seemed to have subconsciously forgotten why Gojo Naru and the others appeared here. Isn't the fundamental reason why Gojo Naru appeared here to rescue Yagyu-samon? So, this is already a paradox. If they thought more comprehensively, they might be able to understand why Gojo Ming was so calm. Gojo Ming didn't care at all about the adult's complicated thoughts. In the face of Sekigakai Sekaiji's request, he did not ignore it and nodded directly to Iiri Shoko. Shoko patted Nishizuku's head with a troubled expression and conveyed her instructions. Spit out this human? But he hasn't recovered yet. There was a look of doubt in Nishizuku's big single eye. Iiri Shoko and Gojo Naru, who were standing in front of her, could clearly sense the meaning conveyed by Nishizuku. Gojo Ming smiled, stroked Shizuku and said, "It's okay. You don't need to be cured completely. Shoko no longer has the strength to provide you with. Just spit out Yagyu-samon. I won't bother you with the subsequent treatment." Nishizuku seemed to understand what Gojo Naruto said, but it knew that the person in front of it was the one who brought it into this world, so it agreed to Gojo Naruto's instructions. I saw that the frequency of Nishizuku's chewing was still increasing. After chewing twice with its huge mouth, it opened its mouth wide in an instant and spit out a human-shaped object wrapped in a ball of green light. No one expected that Yagyu-samon would appear in such a posture. At the same time, except Gojo Naru, no one knew what this green light covering Yagyu-samon was. Chapter 187 The Future Terrorist Organization. Back. There was a flash of surprise in Gojo Ming's eyes, but then he calmed down. There is nothing wrong with the power of Kaido appearing in Nishizuku's body. Nishizuku's power to heal people is originally derived from Kaido. Thinking of this, Gojo Ming was looking forward to the fourth skill of Zanquanzugui, Ghost Path. In the entire world of Bleach, apart from Zanpakuto, Kido skills are the coolest and most powerful. According to Gojo Naru's understanding, the path of ghosts is divided into the path of destruction, the path of bondage, and the path of return. In the original work of Bleach, Hado appears most frequently, followed by Kudo, and Kaido appears the least frequently. If I break through the instant step and master the ghost way, I should be able to master the way of breaking, the way of binding and the way of returning. At that time, we can see which one is more powerful, Hwideo or reverse curse technique. To be honest, Gojo Naru is still looking forward to mastering the Kido. After all, even though he has a body as strong as the sky and cursed, no one can resist the joy of standing at a distance, chanting a few words, and then destroying the enemy directly, right? Just like the world of Bleach is centered around Zanpakuto. However, the biggest villain in the early stage, Sosuke Aizen, basically used Kido the most. Both Dankong and Hakoku were pushed very high by Aizen Sosuke. Gojo Naruto also wanted to let the sorcerers experience the horror of the ghost way in this world. Looking at Yagyu-samon who was wrapped in green light, Not only Yagamasa Michi and the other two, but even Iiri Shoko, who was proficient in reverse curse technique, seemed a little overwhelmed. No one knows what this green fluorescence is used for. This is a power that has never appeared in the world of spells. But just when everyone was unsure, a light cough suddenly sounded. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound and found that Yagyo Simon, who was wrapped in green light, had actually opened his eyes. Is he already healed? Wasn't Simon still in a coma just now? How come he woke up right now? Is this the power of this cursed spirit? Sekigakai Sekaiji's eyes widened, he couldn't believe what was happening. So, what did Iiri Shoko mean when she said that the cursed energy is not enough to support the treatment of this cursed spirit? Is such treatment not effective? It's too scary. Yagamasa Michi looked at Yagyo Simon lying on the ground, then at Iiri Shoko beside him, and finally at the giant light green manta ray that was staring with one eye and full of innocence, and his heart was filled with shock. What on earth is going on in this world of spells? Why do I feel like I can no longer understand this world in the past year? Finally, Yagamasa Michi's gaze fell on Gojo Naru. He knew that the one who had changed the world was the person in front of him, the six-eyes twins who forged Zanpakuto and should not have appeared in this world. Is this the power to change the world? According to the previous conversation between Gojo Naruto, this giant manta ray came from the power of Zanpakuto. This newly forged Zanpakuto currently belongs to Iiri Shoko. Thinking of this, Yagamasa Michi felt a little envious. Among this group of 6-year-old children, except Gojo Satoru, Gojo Naru, Gojo Satoru, and Iiri Shoko, all have their own Zanpakuto. Moreover, the power of each Zanpakuto is extremely strong. Even though Gojo Satoru didn't have a Zanpakuto, after this incident, he got Gojo Naru's promise to have a Zanpakuto. Obviously, these 4 children are the future of the entire magic world. Thinking of this, Yagamasa Michi turned his gaze to the older Zenin Shinji and Kyojoku Yuki. If we say that Gojo Naru and the other 4 6-year-old children are the distant future of the world of sorcery. But, Zenin Shinji and Kyojoku Yuki are the present of the entire world of sorcery. Zenin Shinji possesses the strongest body, and with his Zanpakuto, Hanaten Kyokotsu, the 2 strongest first-level sorcerers in the entire Zenin family are no match for him. And Juju Yuki is a star plasma body with extremely strong talent. It is also said that the magic technique he was born with is also the ancestral magic technique of the Juju family. He is destined to become a first-level sorcerer in the future. Now she has obtained the Zanpakuto from Gojo Naruto, and the most important thing is that she is also Gojo Naruto's rumored girlfriend. With this kind of relationship, it is hard to imagine that Juju Yuki would not stand on Gojo Naru's side. This means that the group of people in front of them, with Gojo Naru as the core, have formed a powerful group. Zanayuan Shenur, who is in his mature stage, has taken over the top combat power in the entire sorcery world. Basically, in the sorcery world, there are very few people who can defeat Zanayuan Shenur. A slightly younger high school student? Actually just a junior high school student, Juju Yuki, who can perfectly achieve the strongest authority of Zenin Jinur, continues to escort this small group. When Gojo Naru, Gojo Satoru, Gojo Suguru, and Iiri Shoko mature, this group will definitely dominate the entire sorcery world in the future. It's hard to imagine, 2 heaven and curse binding, 2 6-eyes, each with a standard Zanpakuto, a curse spirit manipulation technique, a reverse curse technique, a star plasma. What kind of organization can resist such a powerful force? In the small organization of Gojo Naruto, even if the 3 major families united together, they would not be able to shake their rule, right? This is what Yagamasa Michi himself sees at the moment. Yagamasa Michi suddenly thought of the relationship between Gojo Naru and Hongxin Palace, and that Gojo Naru seemed to have brought out a special grade cursed spirit from Hongxin Palace. If we count that special grade cursed spirit, plus the rainbow dragon that was just subdued by Gojo Satoru. 2 more special grade cursed spirits will be added to this small group. You really can't think about it too much. Once you think about it too much, Yagamasa Michi will feel the horror of Gojo Naru from the bottom of his heart. The one who holds this group of people together is Gojo Naruto. Gojo Naruto is the core and bond of this small organization. There was a sharp gleam in Yagamasa Michi's eyes beneath his sunglasses. If I can get Gojo Naruto to agree with my philosophy, then changing the world won't be that difficult, right? Standing next to Yagamasa Michi, Nishinagaki silently recorded Iiri Shoko's power and the technique of the giant ray in his heart. As an auxiliary supervisor, his combat power is not that strong, but all his skill points are focused on auxiliary abilities. This information is very important, and he must successfully bring it back to the association. This plays a vital role in the future development or planning of the association. Chapter 188 Set off and go home. What's wrong with me? Yajiyosimon opened his eyes dazedly. The light was dim and he couldn't see clearly what was going on around him. He only knew that there seemed to be many people or ghosts surrounding him. Am I dead already? Oh, it's really a disgrace to Master Gojo Naruto. Even until death, I can't complete the Bankai of my Zanpakuto. If other people knew about this, they would definitely laugh at the Yajiyo family for wasting their Zanpakuto Tsurugi. Yajiyosimon subconsciously touched his waist. Although he had fallen into the underworld, he still had the habit of grabbing his Zanpakuto. A familiar feeling came from my hand. Is Twisting Flower still by my side? Can the Zanpakuto forged by Master Gojo Naruto actually follow me into the underworld? Yajiyosimon was a little surprised, and at the same time, seemed a little delighted. If I could enter the underworld with my Zanpakuto Tsurugi, would that be a kind of comfort to me? Yajiyosimon was lost in thought, and at the same time, the green light in front of him began to dissipate. The moment the green light completely disappeared, he heard a familiar voice. Uncle Simon, I'm so glad you're okay. This is G. Didn't Syayaja get rescued in the end? Such doubts arose in Yajiyosamon's heart. However, he then obtained more information from Gojo Satoru's words. Is it really great that I'm fine? Yajiyosamon's expression froze for a moment, and then a surge of ecstasy rose in his heart. I am not dead, I am still alive. The moment his thoughts came to his mind, Yajiyosamon could clearly see the people standing around him. 99 Yuki, Iiri Shoko, Zenin Shinji, Gojo Satoru. And, young Master Gojo Ming who was standing next to him. Seeing this scene, how could Yajiyosamon not know what was going on? It was Master Gojo Ming who brought people to save me. Yajiyosamon looked a little ashamed. After the duel with Gojo Shunichi at the Gojo family, he had vowed to Gojo Naruto that he would complete his Bankai. Now, it has fallen into such an embarrassing situation. Zaman, feel your body's current condition. This is the first time Shoko uses Nishizuka to treat you. Feel it for yourself and see if you feel any discomfort in your body. Gojo Naru's voice was very flat, but Yajiyosamon still felt Gojo Naru's concern for him. However, he was very curious about what a Michizuku is. The moment this thought came to his mind, he suddenly felt something sticky sticking to his body. What the hell? Yajiyosamon was frightened by this strange feeling, and he jumped away from his original position as if he was launched. After landing, he subconsciously turned his head and found a strange huge green ray sticking out its tongue. It seemed that the tongue of the stingray was the one that had just licked him. Cursed spirit. Yajiyosamon was about to draw out his Zanpakuto Tsurugi, as he didn't know why there was a cursed spirit here. However, just when he was about to make his first move, Zenin Shinra took a step forward and disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already beside Yajiyosamon. The action of Yajiyosimon drawing his sword was directly stopped by Zenin Shinji. This is Shoko's Zanpakuto technique. What you see is a Nishizoku, not a cursed spirit. Zenin Shinji's explanation made Yajiyosimon freeze, and at the same time, it also confirmed the guess in the hearts of the three support team who were watching on the side. This green flying ray is indeed a Zanpakuto jutsu. Well, what Master Gojo Naruto just said, the cure for my meat Shizuku is. Yajiyosimon stuttered. He had no idea how this giant manta ray would treat him. That's right, Uncle Simon. Just now, it was Nishizoku that swallowed you and healed you. Gojo Satoru added a sentence that made Yajiyosimon realize the fact completely. Yajiyosimon shuddered, watching as Nishizoku floated to his side, stuck out his tongue, and began to lick the green fluorescence off his body. During the whole process, Zenin was tense all over. Although he was being treated by Nishizoku, he still couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart. Shoko and Gojo Naru understood what Nishizoku was doing. Nishizoku was absorbing the Kaido energy that was escaping from Simon's body. Because Shoko's cursed energy was not fully provided, the Kaido energy was not absorbed by Yajiyosimon. It would be a waste to put all the energy on Zaman, so, with the idea that not even a bit of energy could be wasted, Nishizoku directly added the Kaido energy back to Yajiyosimon. After completely absorbing the power of Kaido, Nishizoku turned into a green light and merged into Iiri Shoko's scabbard again. With the awakening of Yajiyosimon, this incident finally came to an end. Sekigakai Cg, Zaman, are you okay? If you are, we will go back and report to the association. Yagimasamichi, Gojo Naru, have you ever thought about going to a technical high school in the future? The teaching in a technical high school is different from the teaching in your family. I think you can give it a try in the future. Nishi Angshu, Lord Simon, I'm very sorry that the information was wrong again this time. Later, I will go to the Yajiyo family in person and apologize to Lord Yajiyo. Gojo Summer Oil, Uncle Simon, I have just subdued the rainbow dragon, and I now have a special grade cursed spirit that I can control, but there is no way for you to avenge me. Jujutsu, Mura, now that the matter has been resolved, let's hurry back. It's getting late, and it's time to rest. Iiri Shoko, oh, it seems that Hibeo is also in the Gojo family. It won't be a problem if he is a cursed spirit and placed in the Gojo family. Zenin Shinji, Okotsuyoto is still at Gojo house. We have to go and fetch him and Rokyuko. Besides, the other Zanpakuto is also in Okotsuyoto's hands, right? Gojo Satoru, we have successfully rescued Simon and Gojo Suguru this time, so we can call it a day. However, I was not given a chance to attack. Yajiyosimon, thank you all for your support. If it weren't for you, this time, Gojo and I might really die in this mission. Afterwards, I will hold a banquet at the Yajiyo family, and I hope you will come and enjoy it. Gojo Naru, Departure, Home, Target, Yoroswaya. Chapter 189, Ghost Lantern. Picking up Okotsuyoga and Rokuro from the Gojo family, Gojo Naru and his group returned to the Yoroswaya. Fortunately, the Wanchaiwa was built big enough in the beginning, so it doesn't seem crowded at all with so many people inside. In the Yoroswaya, Gojo Suguru's eyes were always fixed on the two Zanpakuto on Okotsuyoto. Before this, he had learned from Zenin that Gojo Naru forged a Zanpakuto, and he also knew that the Zanpakuto forged for him should be in Okotsuyoto's possession. Of the two Zanpakuto on Okotsuyoto's waist, one belongs to Okotsu himself, and the other should be his. However, before Gojo Naruto spoke, Gojo Suguru himself didn't know what to say. Gojo Satoru saw Gojo Suguru's expectation, but he did not speak up for Gojo Suguru. Although Gojo Suguru gets along very well with him, Gojo Naru is his biological brother. When it comes to matters like this, one has to see what plans Gojo Naru has. In this situation, Gojo Naru once again became the focus of everyone's attention. Of course, Okotsu visitors and Luhu had no idea what was going on. When he saw Geto Suguru staring at the Zanpakuto on his waist, he subconsciously drew out the Kidomaru. Gojo Naruto had said before that this Zanpakuto was made for Geto Suguru, and Okotsu Yuiga had the best relationship with Geto Suguru, so he was also going to hand it over directly to Geto Suguru. However, to the surprise of the Okotsu visitors, Geto Suguru simply waved his hand and refused to accept it. What's going on? Doesn't Geto Suguru know how rare the Zanpakuto is? That's not right. When he was in Hongxin Palace, Xiaoyuja was still very much looking forward to it. Seeing that everyone was looking at Gojo Ming, he also realized that something must have happened in this incident. Thinking of this, Okotsu Yuto silently took back his Zanpakuto Kizumaru. Everything is waiting for Gojo Naru to make the decision himself. After a moment's silence, Gojo Naru walked to Okotsu Yuto in the dark and pulled out the Kizumaru along with its scabbard. This is the Zanpakuto I made for you. His name is Kizumaru. I know you paid a great price to subdue the rainbow dragon this time, but I hope you can realize that before doing anything, you must be prepared to pay the price. I understand what happened this time. If it weren't for you, Yajiyosimon wouldn't have fallen into such a crisis. This has happened to you once before on Mount Fuji. You were there with Yuki, and Rokuro was still in the cursed fetus state. If you had really carried out your plan and let the coral be born inside Mount Fuji, and caused Mount Fuji to erupt, have you ever thought about what kind of damage it would cause? I made this agreement with you not for anything else, but to let you know that before you do anything, you must think carefully about whether the cost of this matter is something you can afford. Gojo Ming's expression was very serious, and the others only then realized the inside story of this incident. Xiaoyuja lowered his head, feeling a little depressed. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. However, he knew that there was nothing wrong with what Gojo Naruto said. He was indeed just like Gojo Naruto said, doing many things without thinking them through. After this incident, I lost my sense of taste. As long as I think about the incompleteness of my body, I will never forget it, right? Well, go on. Geto Zaiyu looked up subconsciously and saw Gojo Ming had already thrown the Kizumaru towards him. Catching the Zanpakuto Kizumaru, a hint of surprise flashed in Zaiuji's eyes. He didn't expect that Gojo Naruto would just scold him like this. You need to explore the power of Goi Denwan by yourself. But before that, I want to tell you that Goi Denwan has no effect on your curse spirit manipulation skills. Kidomaru will improve your own combat ability. It is a combat type Zanpakuto. I hope you can fully utilize the power of Kizumaru. The curse spirit manipulation technique is extremely powerful, but you still need to improve your physical condition. Gojo Naru's words were deeply engraved in Geto Suguru's mind. Xiaoyuja nodded, indicating that he agreed with this. Without a strong body, he would not be able to withstand the power of the subsequent numerous curse spirits. Without a strong body, he would not be able to make more special curse spirits surrender. Kidomaru. Geto Suguru murmured the name of his Zanpakuto, with a determined look in his eyes. He wanted to become even stronger. Zanpakuto Kidomaru was an opportunity, and the contracted rainbow dragon was also an opportunity. Geto Suguru felt that he was currently on the right track. Thank you, Ming. I will continue to work hard and will not be so reckless in the future. This is what Geto Suguru thought from the bottom of his heart. Although he was a little afraid of Gojo Naruto was really good to him. Gojo Ming nodded. Geto Suguru has great potential. As a future top-grade sorcerer, he will definitely be able to provide himself with enough experience points. Such a high-quality experience pack is probably only inferior to that of Gojo Satoru. According to this, he currently has mastered all the experience and authority of the 3 future top-level sorcerers. Even the father of the 4th greatest special sorcerer has been taken into his possession now. As long as Okotsuyoda is born in the future, he will definitely bind himself to them as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Gojo Ming looked at Zenin Jinner again. He couldn't remember much about Zenin Jinner's previous love life, and the original book didn't tell him much about it. He was a little worried. Would Fushiguro Megami not be born in this world line because of his intrusion? If Fushiguro Megami is not there, wouldn't it be like there is no heroine in the original work? However, think about it, Kaori Itadori's family is no longer living in Sendai, so the scene where Itadori swallows Sukuna's finger in the future main storyline should not happen in Sendai, right? I wonder if my appearance will cause a butterfly effect? Without Fushiguro Megami and Itadori Yuji, the future world will be much less observable. At this point, Gojo Ming himself didn't know how the future would develop. However, he is ready to influence the world according to his own ideas. If Fushiguro Megami and Itadori Yuji really cannot appear in this world because of me, I can only express my helpless apologies. After all, Gojo Satoru is his only relative in this world. Chapter 190. Is there something wrong with the system repair? As long as I am here, Gojo Satoru will definitely not be allowed to fall into such a situation where he would be cut in half in the future. Holding the Zanpakuto Sode Shirayuki and Ryujin Jaka at his waist, Gojo Naru has the confidence to influence and change the world. Not only does he possess the power of his Zanpakuto, he also possesses the power of the system. How could a person like him who has a lot of power not be defeated? After everyone returned to the room to rest, Gojo Ming turned on his own system. Originally, he just wanted to check the status of his Zanpakuto, but, to his surprise, the system panel suddenly froze. What is going on? This was also the first time that Gojo Naru encountered this situation. From the time the system was acquired until now, it has always been in good working order, except for the fact that it collapsed right after it was created, leaving only the Zankenzuki and Zanpakuto forging functions intact. What does it mean now? Is this broken and incomplete system about to collapse? No way. Although I have mastered many skills and forged so many Zanpakuto, I am still not satisfied. Aren't the more Zanpakuto the better? The most important thing is that I haven't learned the way of ghosts yet. The fist slashing and ghost shooting skills are the basic skills of the Grim Reaper. I haven't even unlocked the ghost skills yet. What kind of Grim Reaper am I? Gojo Ming, who was lying on the bed, straightened up and sat up. Under the moonlight outside the window, he began to examine the system panel. After the system panel was stuck for half an hour, Gojo Ming finally re-entered the panel. Seeing that the system could still be turned on, Gojo Ming breathed a sigh of relief. But the next second, he was stunned. Host, Gojo Naru. Age, 6 years old. Zanpakuto, Ryujin Wakabi, Shikai, Sode Shirayuki, Bankai, other Zanpakuto detailed display room. Kendo, proficiency 100%. Boxing, white fight proficiency 100%. Walk, instant step proficiency 88%. ONI, Kidu 0% proficiency. Is this your own properties panel? Since Gojo Ming awakened from the system, he has never seen what the attribute panel looks like. I didn't expect that after this freeze, my attribute panel would be directly stuck. This seems to be a good surprise. But then, after glancing at the prompt interface on the side, Gojo Ming was completely stunned. Because, this sentence of scarlet text appeared on the system prompt interface. After testing, the host has met the system repair conditions, the number of Zanpakuto held by 10 people has reached, Bankai has been completed, and the basic skills have been mastered by more than 50%. The system repair process has been started. The estimated repair time is unknown. Please find a safe place with sufficient energy to hibernate. This prompt caught Gojo Ming off guard. Before the system collapsed, Gojo Ming had already guessed whether such a system could be repaired, but at that time he had no clue, so he just regarded it as a guess. Now it seems that my guess at that time has come true. It turns out that the premise for system repair is this, which means that after handing over the Zanpakuto Kidomaru to Gojo Satoru, the entire repair condition has been completely met. In this case, the system will start the repair process. But why should I look for a place full of energy to hibernate? The system evolves, so why must it be put into hibernation? What does it mean that the estimated repair time is unknown? It seems like it will take quite a long time to repair the system? 1 month? Or 2 months? Gojo Ming frowned. He suddenly felt that 1 or 2 months was still good. What he feared most was that if it took a year or two to repair, his most precious life would be wasted. Is it possible to interrupt the repair process? Gojo Ming tried to ask the system questions, but the system gave him a very cold answer. Once the repair process is started, it cannot be terminated. Currently, the system repair process has been started. Please find a place with sufficient energy to repair the system. There are 22 hours and 53 minutes left until the energy absorption phase. Please make sure to find a sleeping place before the energy absorption phase begins. If it fails to find the target, the system will absorb the host's energy. The host will be responsible for any consequences. The red text of the system kept flashing, giving Gojo Ming an inexplicable pressure. What will happen if I don't find a suitable location? Gojo Ming asked in a deep voice. There are only 22 hours left, which is not enough time. Brain death, limb mutilation, loss of consciousness, memory loss, etc. may occur. The specific situation will be determined based on the system's energy absorption process. The system's response made Gojo Ming realize the seriousness of this incident. Therefore, the most important thing for Gojo Ming at present is to find a place with sufficient energy that is suitable for repairing the system within 22 hours. Thinking of this, Gojo Ming no longer had time to argue with the system about why it had to be upgraded forcibly. Accidents are everywhere. Gojo Ming knew that his current plan would be disrupted by the accident of system evolution. In the middle of the night, the lights in the Yorozue were on and everyone was awakened by Gojo Ming. In the middle of the living room, everyone was wearing pajamas, looking at Gojo Naru standing on the kotetsu with puzzled expressions. They had just fallen asleep when they were woken up by Gojo Naruto. They were considered good-natured for not losing their temper. Ming, what happened? Aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? Why do you have to wake up so many people? Gojo Satoru rubbed his eyes, looking somewhat helpless. Too many things happened today, and Six Eyes had to analyze too many things. He just wanted to have a good rest and really didn't want to be tormented by his own brother like this. However, seeing that everyone had already arrived and only he was late, Gojo Satoru immediately shut up and gave the stage to Gojo Naru. Seeing that everyone was present, Gojo Ming sighed, looked around, and said softly, "In the next period of time, I may fall into a deep sleep." Gojo Satoru raised an eyebrow, not knowing what his brother meant by this. Wasn't it normal for him to fall into a deep sleep at this late hour? Now, I need to find a place full of energy to sleep. I don't know when I will wake up. Gojo Satoru frowned, he felt something was wrong. What does it mean to have an unknown sleeping time? Everyone at the scene had the same thought as Gojo Satoru. What does it mean to have an unknown sleeping time? It may take at least half a year to get started. Chapter 191, The Sleeping Place. Realizing that what Gojo Naru said was not a joke, the scene fell into silence. Everyone's sleepiness had completely disappeared at this time. No one had expected that Gojo Naru would reveal such exaggerated news in the middle of the night. Sleeping, and I don't know how long I will sleep. This kind of thing sounds very unreasonable, but when it happens to a peculiar person like Gojo Naru, There doesn't seem to be the slightest bit of incongruity. At this moment, no one asked Gojo Ming why he said that. Instead, they really thought about what place would meet Gojo Ming's needs and what place would be the place with the energy that Gojo Ming wanted according to what he said. A place filled with energy. According to this situation, the ancestral home of the big three sorcerer families was built in a place full of energy when it was first established. This is why the big three sorcerer families have been able to thrive in the world of sorcery for so long. Every family has such an ancestral land. If Gojo Ming needs such a place, the Gojo family should definitely not be stingy. If it is really necessary, even entering the Zenin family or the Kumo family should not be a problem. With the current power of the Gojo family, it is enough to crush the other two families. Thinking that Gojo Ming was a little embarrassed, Zanayuan Shen'er touched the scar on his lip, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Gojo Naru was embarrassed to go look for the Zenin family, but he was very embarrassed to do so. Recently, Zenin Shinichi has been looking for himself, looking for an opportunity to return to his Zenin home. However, every time Chan Yuan mentioned such words, he would reject them. There is really nothing to miss about a garbage dump like Zanayuan's house. Even if he was asked to go back and act as the Chan Yuan family's agent, he had no interest in doing so. After all, no one wants to transform a garbage dump into a luxurious open-air garbage dump. The more luxurious and open-air such a landfill is, the more garbage it will collect and the more people will be disturbed. However, if Gojo Naruto really needs the ancestral land of the Zenin family to sleep now, then he does not mind temporarily becoming the ruler of the Zenin family and clearing a series of obstacles for Gojo Naruto to achieve this goal. Do you need me to help? The Chan Yuan family's ancestral land should be full of energy. Chan Yuan Shen'er's expression was extremely cold, as if he was not talking about anything related to himself, as if he was not talking about the family that gave birth to him. Everyone agreed with Zenin Shen'er's proposal. After all, everyone at the scene was here to revolve around Gojo Naru, and no one among them had any special relationship with the Zenin family. No one cares about the life or death of the Chan Yuan family. Gojo Ming was somewhat tempted when he heard this, but this was just an alternative plan. First, he didn't know whether the ancestral land of the Chan Yuan family met his requirements. Secondly, he had to give priority to safety when choosing a location. If he fell asleep in the Zen temple like this, he was worried that he would never wake up. Moreover, if the energy of the Zenin family's ancestral land is sufficient, the Gojo family should be no less powerful than it. If Gojo Ming were to choose, he would definitely give priority to the Gojo family's ancestral land. After discussing some famous mountains and rivers including Mount Fuji, Gojo Naru probably already had a plan. He must first choose a location that is suitable for the system to sleep, and then make future arrangements based on the amount of time available. Gojo Ming was a little worried. If he slept for too long, everything would be out of control in the future, and that would be too helpless. After Gojo Naru confirmed the location, Kyujuyuki wanted to say something but hesitated. However, when she saw that Gojo Naru had already made the corresponding choice, she finally did not say anything. The moon is at its zenith. Several people from the Yorozue all went out and followed Gojo Naruto to start selecting the energy-filled places they had previously targeted one by one. Gojo Naru's priority is to return to the Gojo family. Because of the presence of Nishizuku, Gojo Naruto and his group moved very quickly. In a very short time, Nishizuku was already floating above the Gojo family residence. This large light green manta ray was not conspicuous under the cover of night, but it was not completely invisible. After staying above the Gojo family for a while, it was observed by the patrol personnel of the Gojo family. What is that? There is an enemy attack. When a patrolman from the Gojo family saw the giant creature in the sky, his expression changed and cursed power began to emerge from his body. He was not at the Gojo family during the day, so he did not see the existence of Nishizuku. Seeing such a manta ray-like creature at night, my whole body almost froze. However, just as he was about to sound the alarm, another guard beside him stopped him. "Don't do anything unnecessary. This is the Shikigami summoned by Master Ming." "What? You're not here during the day, so you don't know. This is the Shikigami born from Master Gojo Naruto's Zanpakuto. Although I don't know why Master Gojo Naruto returns to the family mansion at night, we should not meddle in his business." "Oh, okay, I understand." The guards of the Gojo family regained their composure and resumed their daily patrols. However, he was still filled with shock in his heart. Young Master Gojo Naruto was simply too omnipotent. This forged Zanpakuto not only had the power to change the celestial phenomena, but could also summon such a powerful Shikigami. He was confident that as long as Gojo Naruto was in the Gojo family, the reputation of the entire Iiri would not fall, and the Gojo family would definitely stand at the pinnacle of the world of sorcery under the leadership of Master Gojo Naruto. Oh, of course, Master Gojo Satoru is also indispensable. Realizing that Gojo Naruto was hovering above the Gojo family residence, the morale of the family guards became even higher. Unfortunately, what they didn't know was that Gojo Naruto, the pillar of the family in their hearts, was about to fall into an unknown sleep due to a system problem. In the future, the Gojo family may have to bear the backlash of not having Gojo Naru and not having the birth of Zanpakuto. If Gojo Satoru doesn't progress fast enough in the future, the situation of the Gojo family may be much worse than it is now. However, at this time, Gojo Ming was no longer able to consider things too thoroughly. Gojo Naruto didn't really care what the future of the Gojo family would be like. After all, even if he fell asleep, the group of friends around him would not leave the Gojo family alone. What's more, my brother will become the most powerful sorcerer of this era, and he has the support of Senbonzakura. Even if Nose Rope attacks in the future, I'm afraid he won't be able to gain any benefit from the mature Gojo Satoru. Chapter 192, Does Not Meet System Requirements. Gojo Ming really didn't have time to pay attention to the future development of the Gojo family. After all, at this moment, above the Gojo family's residence, the system gave him a detection prompt. "This location does not meet the system requirements, please search again." This reminder is not good news for Gojo Ming. Originally, in Gojo Ming's opinion, as long as the Gojo family mansion met the system requirements, he would directly choose the Gojo family as his sleeping place. After all, this is the base camp of the Gojo family, and it is also the safest place for him. But, unfortunately, the ancestral home of the Gojo family, one of the big three sorcerer families, cannot satisfy the system's need for a place with abundant energy. Is this okay? Ming. Kyojuyuki looked at Gojo Naru and asked. Gojo Ming fell into silence for such a long time. It was obvious that the energy in the Gojo family was not very ideal. Everyone also looked at Gojo Ming, waiting for his answer. There is no way, the Gojo family can't do it. Gojo Ming's response made everyone around him give up all hope. Then go to Zanayuan's house and have a look. Zenin Shinner spoke coldly, glanced at Iiri Shoko, and gave the order directly. Although Gojo Naruto did not say it directly, Zenin Shinji still clearly felt the importance of this place to Gojo Naruto. Although the Gojo family had been rejected by Gojo Ming, he still wanted to go to the Zenin family to take a look. Forget it, Shino, the Zenin family should be no different from the Gojo family. Gojo Ming wanted to refuse, but Zenin Shinji was very determined. Iiri Shoko also accepted Zenin Shin's order very decisively and directly commanded Nishizuka to fly towards the Zenin family residence. Gojo Naruto did not have any hope for the Zenin family, but the Zenin family and the Kumo family mansion were indeed the only two places he could try in Tokyo. Go to all of them once, and you will have a clear mind. Gojo Naruto let Nishizuka carry everyone to the top of the Zenin family's residence, while he himself was thinking, What place can meet the requirements of the system? Zenin family residence. The moment Nishizuku appeared in the sky, she was discovered by Zenin Naobi. As the strongest sorcerer in the Zenin family, he is extremely sensitive to spell power. As soon as Nishizuku flew into the airspace of the Zenin family, Zenin Naobido had already sounded the alarm to the people of the Zenin family. Throughout the courtyard, the sorcerers of the Zenayuan family have begun to gather, ready to deal with the impending crisis at any time. When Zenin Naobi saw the huge light green manta ray in the sky, he looked a little dazed. Was the Gojo family going to declare war on the Zenin family? Are you so impatient? Fighting without declaration is a taboo. Even if the Zenin family fails, the Gojo family will be despised in the world of sorcery in the future. Around the Zen temple's Hibiran, members of the Bing organization have gathered at the first opportunity to protect the safety of the family representative. Facing the Raushiku in the sky, Zenin Shan's expression was very ugly. He was a man who valued his family's honor more than his own life, and was filled with anger at the invasion of the Zenin family by people from the Gojo family. Seeing the manta ray Shikigami floating so arrogantly in the sky, Zenayuan Shan swung his right hand violently. Knock that monster down from the sky. Zenin Shan pointed at Raushiku and gave orders to the members of the Bing organization around him. Following a command from Zen Temple Fan, the sorcerers within the Bing organization all mobilized their spells and fired a volley of spells at the Raushizuku in the sky. The Zen Temple's Hibi people did not try to stop this. He also wanted to see what kind of power the strange Shikigami in the sky had. Was this Shikigami just a mount, or did it also possess powerful power? The power displayed by the Shikigami determines how the Zenin family will treat it in the future. Air supremacy is also extremely important to the Zenin family. Being spied on by such a Shikigami in the middle of the night is a big taboo for maintaining family secrets. However, just as the cursed power of the Bing organization member was about to hit Nishizuku, a black light flashed across the night sky. The shadowy blade light was like a ghost, directly cutting off all the cursed power. None of the cursed energy shot out by Bing organization hit Nishizuku. Seeing the familiar sword light, the expressions of Zenin Naobido, Zenin Shuji, Zenin Shinichi, and Zenin Shinsuke all changed. This is the power of Hua Tiankuangu. Zenin Shinji is actually on this BD? What was Zenin Shinner doing riding his Nishizuku over the Zenin family residence so late at night? The four people had different thoughts in their minds. Zenin Naobi, are you interested in the family? If you really want to gain control of the Zenin family, just come and tell me directly. Why are you here in the middle of the night? Zenin fan, this guy Zenin Shinner actually had the nerve to return to the Zenin family, and even brought other people to the sky above the Zenin family. Zenin Shinner is guilty of snooping into the privacy of the Zenin family. Zenin Shinsuke, Zenin Shinji has always been inseparable from Gojo Naruto, and this Shikigami is the product of Gojo Naruto's forging of his Zanpakuto. Zenin Shinner appears here, so I'm afraid Gojo Naru is also here. Zenin Shinichi, Shinner, have you finally figured it out? Are you ready to take over the Zenin family directly? That's great. In this way, if brothers work together, they can achieve great things. I will definitely help you manage the Chen Yuan family well. Originally, we should be the two of us, the head of the Chen Yuan family. If my father hadn't died early, how could our status be so embarrassing? Shin-er, the experience of being thrown into a cursed pile when I was a child is something I will never forget. Among all people, Zenin Shinichi was extremely excited about meeting Huishin Kuangwu. This was the first time that Chen Yuan Shenner had directly entered the territory of the Chen Yuan family after leaving the Chen Yuan family. Although it was only in the sky, it was also a declaration of Chen Yuan Shenner sovereignty. He was looking forward to his brother becoming the ruler of the Zenin family. The Chen Yuan family is a garbage dump, but there are also many valuable garbage hidden in this garbage dump. Since he and his brother were able to grow up in the garbage dump, then this garbage dump should naturally belong to him and his brother. Their days in the Zen temple were extremely hard. Thinking of the scar on the corner of Zen temple Shire's mouth, this is the evidence that Shire was thrown into a house with cursed spirits when he was a child and fought with the cursed spirits. The cruelty and indifference of the Zenyaoan family left a deep impression on Zenyaoan Shinichi. It's time for the Zenin family to pay the price. Chapter 193, Yokaiji, I have an idea. Zen Temple Shinichi was ready to raise the banner of rebellion. However, to his surprise, Chanyu Shener's attack was indiscriminate. In the sky, Hua Tiankuangu's sword flashed, and everyone's shadow under the moonlight appeared as a ghostly figure in the Zen temple. It was just one sword attack. Except for the 4 people of Zenyaoan's Hibi who were able to react to Zenyaoan Shener's attack, all the people in Bing organization fell under Huaishan Kuanggu's sword. Hey, Shener, you even attack your own brother. Zen Yuanshanai blocked Hua Tiankuangu's shadow ghost, and then jumped up. He has people in Bing's organization. If they are all defeated indiscriminately, how can he hold high the banner of rebellion? Unfortunately, Chanyu Shire ignored his own brother. After using the shadow ghost to clear the surroundings, he turned and looked at Gojo Naruto. His real purpose was to let Gojo Naruto sense whether the energy of the Zenin family was sufficient. As for the 4 people still standing on the ground, the Zen temple didn't care at all. As for his own brother? It's just a simple blood relationship. What Zenyaoan Shinichi thinks is his business and has nothing to do with me. Unless Gojo Naruto required it, he had no interest in taking over the Zenin family. The appearance of Chanyu Shener changed Chanyu Shan's expression. The fear of being dominated by Chanyu Shener and Huaishan Kuanggu emerged in the mind of this acting younger brother of the Chanyu family. Although he resisted the attack of the shadow ghost, he still subconsciously took a step back. It's not that he is a coward, but the current Zen temple is really too strong. The most important thing is that, with the help of moonlight, he also saw several other figures on the back of this giant manta ray god. Apart from Chanyu Shire, the 2 identical twin figures were also something he would never forget for the rest of his life. Gojo Naru and Gojo Satoru, the 6 eyes children of the Gojo family, were both in the air. In his opinion, was Zenin Jinner getting the support of the Gojo family and preparing to seize power? The moment Zenin's Hibi saw Zenin Shinner attacking, he realized that Zenin Shinner's target was not the Zenin family. The mustache on his face moved slightly and his brows were furrowed. Although Chanyu Shinner's attack just now was swift, he only subdued the members of Bing's organization and did not hurt them. Obviously, Chanyu Shinner just wanted to avoid further attacks from Bing organization. But what does this attack mean? What is Chanyu Shinner's real purpose? Zen Temple's Hibiran couldn't understand why Gojo Naru and his group went through so much trouble in the middle of the night just to find a place to sleep that met the system's requirements. On the back of Nishizuku. Seeing Gojo Ming shaking his head, everyone felt disappointed but also felt it was very reasonable. After all, the location of the Zenin family would not be too different from that of the Gojo family, and as for the Kumo family's mansion, it seems there is no need to even try. Rather than taking the time to go back to Kumo's, try alternative locations around Tokyo. Let's go. Gojo Ming spread his hands towards Zenin Shinner. Since this place did not meet the requirements, there was no need to waste time in Zenin's house. Anyway, he wasn't very interested in the Zen family. As Gojo's voice fell, Nikushizuka began to swing its huge fins and flew towards the next location. Since we don't have to go to the Kumo family residence, the next target is Mount Fuji. Famous mountains and rivers, which gather the essence of heaven and earth, may be able to satisfy Gojo Ming's needs for a deep sleep, but in reality, no one dared to hold too much hope. Seeing the manta ray god in the sky, he left in such a swagger. The 4 Zen temple's Hibi people looked at each other in astonishment, and then looked at the Bing organization members lying on the ground, their faces full of confusion. Is that so? So why did Zenin Jinner and Gojo Naru come to Zenin's house in the middle of the night? Did you come for a drive in the middle of the night because you couldn't sleep? If I saw it right, there is astral plasma on that ray, and the lady of the Iiri family also has the special cursed spirit that Gojo Naru brought from the Hongxin Palace, right? This kind of luxurious lineup is enough to attack a family of sorcerers. Zen Temple Fan was even prepared for a big battle. But everything happened so suddenly. It started suddenly, ended suddenly, and now all that's left is a sense of inexplicable boredom. The entire Zen family was in chaos, and the culprit of all this just disappeared like that. Time passed slowly and the sky in the east began to turn pale. Nishizuku had been flying for a whole night and had visited all the famous mountains and rivers around Tokyo, but Gojo Naruto still hadn't chosen a place with abundant energy that met the system's requirements. There are less than 15 hours left before the system is forced into sleep. If it continues like this, let alone making future plans, if the energy is not sufficient, Gojo Ming feels that the energy required for the system to repair the problem will probably drain him dry. Even if I wake up in the future and become a disabled person, it would all seem too bleak. Seeing Gojo Ming frowning, Zenin Jinner, Gojo Satoru and others also frowned. Under such circumstances, they really couldn't think of any good place to go. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Just when everyone was frowning, a gleam of determination flashed in Kyojuyuki's eyes and he came to Gojo Ming's side. Ming, are you only considering whether the energy is full or not whether it is safe? Jujuyuki asked. To be honest, she didn't want to give such a suggestion. After all, in her opinion, Gojo Naruto was too important, and her suggestion was still a bit risky. After all, ordinary people like them have no way of seeing what that person is thinking. Gojo Ming looked up at Jujuyuki in confusion and nodded slightly. Now that it has come to this, he has no choice. Safety must be put aside, and the most critical factor is of course energy. Jujuyuki asked this, could it be that she has a suitable place to recommend? Facing Gojo Naruto's doubtful gaze, Jujuyuki hesitated for a few seconds, opened his cherry lips slightly, and said softly. Ming, have you ever considered going to Hongxin Palace? That's where Lord Tianyuan lives. It's full of energy. Moreover, with a barrier master like Lord Tianyuan, maybe her barrier can help you. If what you care about most is the energy of the place, I think that the Hongxin Palace where Lord Tianyuan is really the most suitable place for you. Chapter 194 Choose Hongxin Palace. Hongxin Palace. Wu Tiaoming raised his eyebrows slightly, his mind moved. Why didn't I think of it before? However, as Yokaiji Kyojoku said, what about my own safety? Gojo Ming felt that Hongxin Palace was the most likely location to meet the system's energy fullness level at present, but what Jujuyuki was considering was indeed a problem. Is it really safe for me to sleep in the Hongxin Palace? In that situation, I would be completely defenseless, and if someone wanted to do something bad to me, I would have no power to resist. Although Tianyuan's role in the entire original work is more of a background existence, Gojo Ming feels that he should not be underestimated in the slightest. After all, he is a being that possesses the art of immortality and has the longest lifespan in the entire world of sorcery. Even though she looks like a soft girl now, she is not someone that Gojo Naruto can underestimate. Just as he was very curious about Tianyuan, Gojo Ming was sure that Tianyuan must be very curious about him as well. If there is a chance to study it, neither Tianyuan nor I will let it go easily. Does that mean that I want Chanyuan Shire to stay by my side and protect me? Gojo Ming felt that this was not feasible. Zenin Shinner was an independent individual with his own ideas. Although they were close friends, he could not tie Zenin Shinner up and force him to stay in Hongxin Palace forever. And considering Chanyuan Shenner's age, we also have to think carefully about Chanyuan Shenner's future love life. In the next few years, Shenner should experience love with Hui Ma. If he had to protect himself and ended up not meeting Huema, or if he died forever, Gojo Naruto would be very reluctant to see that. What's more, I don't know how long it will take to repair the system. 1 month, 2 months, 1 day, or 2 days, this is the best. However, half a year, 1 year, or 2 years is not ruled out. It may even be a longer time. After all, the system has already reminded me to choose a good place to sleep. Gojo Ming had a premonition that if he didn't choose a good address, this place might become his own grave. But no matter what, let's go to Hongxin Palace and take a look. This is the best option at the moment. Otherwise, when Tianyuan takes Hongxingong to hide again, Gojo Ming himself may not be able to find Hongxingong. In this case, I can only wait for death. Yuji, let's go to Hongxin Palace and take a look. As for Tianyuan, if Hongxin Palace really meets my needs for sleeping, I will try to have a good chat with Tianyuan. Now that the decision has been made, there is no need to worry too much about everything. Under the command of Gojo Naruto, Nishizuka turned around and flew towards Hongxin Palace. Hongxin Palace was the last place Gojo Naruto could choose. In the world of curse arts, the news that Nishizuka had invaded the Zenin family last night had spread widely. Although it was only the early morning, many small families had already begun to speculate whether the Gojo family was going to go to war with the Zenin family. The Five Family. Gojo Xianjian frowned as he looked at the news brought to him by Gojo Suanyi. Is the Gojo family preparing to go to war with the Zenin family? Gojo Kyuman had no objection to such a thing. After all, the two families have been mortal enemies for many years. In the history of the Gojo family, there was an experience in which the Gojo family's 6 eyes and the Zenin family's 10 shadow magic users died together. If possible, Gojo Kyuman wouldn't mind completely removing the Zenin family from the family world of sorcery. However, he felt that such news was not credible. After all, if Gojo Naruto really wanted to go to war with the Zenin family, it would be impossible for him to bypass the Gojo family's representative. Although I am just a substitute for Gojo Naru, based on my understanding of Gojo Naru would never do such a thing for no reason. Of course, this does not mean that Gojo Naru is a good person, but in Gojo Kyuman's opinion, there is no benefit in going to war with the Zenin family. At present, the best way is to compress the living space of the Zen family in various ways. Because of the existence of Gojo Naruto's Zanpakuto, the Gojo family is considered to have the most critical resources in the entire world of sorcery. As Zenin Shinji left the Zenin family, his power became known to the world of sorcery, and the prestige of the Zenin family became lower. Going to war with the Zenin family at this time would be totally counterproductive. After all, now is not the time to push the Zenin family into a desperate situation. What are Ming and Wu doing now? Have they come back? After leaving the sky above Zenin's house last night, Gojo Ming and his group disappeared without a trace, which made Gojo Xianjian even more confused. Gojo Genaki shook his head awkwardly. Ever since the establishment of the Yorozwaya, Gojo Naruto has been spending less and less time at home. Now the same is true for Master Wu as well. They really have no way of getting any information about these two six-eyes sons of God from the Gojo family. You know, there are still two people with huge bounties in the black market. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't stop these two people, Gojo Suanyi would not be willing to let these two future members of the Gojo family leave the Gojo family at will. After all, it was too dangerous outside. No one knows, will they meet a sorcerer with a domain next time? No one can guarantee that Gojo Naruto will be able to find a way to restrain the opponent again and finally escape successfully, right? Gojo Xianjian knew what his grandson was thinking and sighed. He thought the same thing. However, the current team of sorcerers of the Gojo family is simply unable to protect Gojo Satoru and Gojo Naruto. Instead of locking these two people in the Zenin family, it would be better to let them live outside. Not only will they have the protection of Zenin, but when they really encounter a threat, they don't have to worry about other ordinary people in the Gojo family. Forget it, let's just leave it at that. Wu Tiao Xiongyan waved his hands weakly, signaling Wu Tiao Xianyi to retreat. Just as Gojo Geniki was about to leave, an intelligence officer from the Gojo family suddenly appeared in front of them. Lord Xiongyan, the latest information about Master Ming. Wu Tiao Xiongyan's narrowed eyes suddenly opened, and he looked at the intelligence officer in front of him and said, "What is Ming doing now? Tell me quickly." Intelligence officer, Master Ming just returned to Tokyo with a group of people from the Eurosway 20 minutes ago. Currently, Master Ming has entered the Hongxin Palace with the Manta Shikigami. Hongxin Palace. Gojo Xianjian and Gojo Xuanyi murmured the name, their eyes full of confusion. Chapter 195 Final Arrangement. Didn't Gojo Naru just leave Hongxin Palace a few days ago? Did Lord Tianyuan invite Gojo Naruto to visit Hongxin Palace again? Or was this a spontaneous action of Gojo Naruto? If it was a few days ago, Gojo Kyumein would definitely think it was the former, but after what happened at Zenin's house yesterday, Gojo Kyumein felt that the latter was more likely. No matter from which angle you look at it, Gojo Ming seems to be looking for something. Now, you can't find it outside, so have you gone to Hongxin Palace to look for it? Regarding what happened last night, Gojo Xianjian had a bad feeling in his heart, and always felt that something might happen in the Gojo family recently. Under the attention of many people, Gojo Ming entered the Hongxin Palace again in such a short time. Sure enough, Hongxin Palace meets the system requirements. After seeing the system prompt, Gojo Ming breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that the upgrade requirements of this crappy system would be so high. If Hongxin Palace hadn't disappeared yet, I might really have to endure the system upgrade process. Now that Hongxin Palace can be used, the next step is to convince Tianyuan and resolve Tianyuan's instability. In the Hongxin Palace. After hearing Gojo Ming's request, Tianyuan looked at Gojo Ming playfully, and finally turned and left, while Gojo Ming followed Tianyuan silently. He knew that he would have another one-on-one conversation with Tianyuan. My safety during my sleep depends on this conversation. Half an hour later. Gojo Ming walked out with a conflicted expression. How is it? Did Master Tianyuan agree? As a star plasma body, Jujutsu naturally knew how difficult Lord Tenjin was to deal with, so after seeing Gojo Naru's expression, her heart suddenly tightened. In response to Yuki Kyojoku's concern, Gojo Ming curled the corners of his mouth and gave a reassuring look. It's okay, Master Tianyuan has already agreed. Everything went smoothly, and Tianyuan didn't make too many requests. She just asked him to agree to one request after he woke up. This condition sounded fine, but Gojo Ming always felt that something was wrong. Is that so? Then why are you looking so sad? Kyojo stared at Gojo Naru's face carefully, trying to see something. Nothing, I just feel like everything is going too smoothly. Gojo Ming did not tell anyone about the agreement he had made with Tenjin. The binding force of this agreement is not very strong, it all depends on Gojo Naru's character. There was no contract between the two of them, so if Gojo Ming really acted ruthlessly, he would be directly violating the agreement. Let's go, we have to arrange the follow-up matters. Now that the sleeping place has been determined, Gojo Ming's worries can be put at ease. Then came the things he needed to pay attention to during his sleep. The five family. Gojo Xianjian looked at the six-eyes twins in front of him with a dazed expression. He had been feeling uneasy since early in the morning and he didn't expect that this would happen to Gojo Ming. Ming, why are you sleeping? Are you feeling unwell? If you are sick, you need to be treated properly. Gojo Xianjian's eyes were full of worry. In his opinion, Gojo Ming's behavior was not normal at all. How could someone foresee in advance that he was about to fall into a deep sleep? However, Facing Gojo Kuma's question, Gojo Ming did not speak, but Gojo Satoru spoke first. Ming did this for a reason. Originally, Ming was not someone who could be judged by normal circumstances. Moreover, Lord Tianyuan has accepted Ming's request. During this period of time, Ming will sleep in Hongxin Palace. Gojo Satoru's words made Gojo Xianjian pause. He finally realized why Gojo Ming was going to Hongxin Palace today. For this matter, they even went directly to Lord Tianyuan, and Gojo Xianjian also realized the importance of Gojo Ming to this matter. The most important thing is that Lord Tianyuan agreed. As the person with the longest vision in the world of sorcery, Lady Tianyuan must have her reasons for doing this. Although he was the representative of the Gojo family, he was just an ordinary sorcerer in front of Master Tenjin. Ming, how long do you have to sleep? Now that the matter has been settled, Gojo Xianjian is more concerned about the impact that Gojo Ming's sleep will have. The Gojo family has such a reputation at present, and the Zanpakuto forged by Gojo Naruto is a very important factor. Anything produced by Gojo Ming must be of high quality. This is already the label of Gojo Naru's Zanpakuto. Now so many small families want to strive to obtain Zanpakuto, and all of them are working hard in the Gojo family. If Gojo Naruto is going to sleep for too long, he thinks it will have a great impact on the Gojo family. Gojo Ming was silent for a moment. I don't know exactly how long I've been asleep. He couldn't give any specific details. After all, he didn't know what functions were missing from the system. I don't know what kind of functions the system will repair. Faced with such an answer, Gojo Xianjian felt bad. However, there was nothing he could do at this moment. After all, he couldn't control Gojo Naru. That's the only way. During the time you're asleep, I will try my best to keep this news from you. Wu, you should also pay attention and don't let anything slip. The later the news of Ming's sleep spreads, the better it will be for the Gojo family. After accepting this matter, Wu Tiaoxiangyan quickly made a plan in his mind. In his mind, he divided Gojo Naru's sleeping time into short-term, medium-term and long-term. If it is only a short period of half a year, then after the news is blocked, when Gojo Ming wakes up, nothing will change in the Gojo family. If the period is from half a year to 2 years, then the Gojo family will have to spread the word that Gojo Ming is in seclusion to deal with other families spying on the Gojo family. However, if Gojo Naruto had been sleeping for more than 2 years, then the Gojo family might be affected. After all, no one would be willing to believe that a person would sleep for 2 years. Uncle Xiangyan, I have something here that needs your attention. Gojo Ming gave his final instructions before falling asleep. First of all, please ask the Gojo family to mobilize their forces to collect the fingers of Ryam and Sukuna. The second thing is to look for Itadori Kaori, to look for the Itadori family, to look all over Japan, to intensify the efforts, no matter if we can find her or not. I don't want Itadori Kaori to settle down. The third thing is to increase our control over the association's top management and, if necessary, replace them as much as possible. In the future, Gojo Satoru will be cut in half by Ryam and Sukuna. He didn't know whether Gojo Satoru's fate would go like that, but he had already strengthened Gojo Satoru's Senbonzakura, so the only thing left was to weaken Sukuna. If Sukuna's power wasn't that strong, with Gojo Satoru's strength, he would never have ended up like that. As for Itadori Kaori, news, Gojo Naruto is preparing to eliminate the existence of the Sukuna container from the root. I hope his butterfly effect can change the world as much as possible. After all, after he fell asleep, the world was no longer under his control. The third condition was something Gojo Naru thought about, by the way. Since the top management in future plots is so corrupt, it would be better to replace them with their own people as much as possible. In this way, the future world of sorcery might be easier for him to control. At this point, Gojo Ming had completed all preparations before falling asleep. Hope you can have a good dream. Hope you can wake up soon. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 196, Sleeping for 9 Years. In Hongxin Palace, a secret room somewhere. A young man is sleeping peacefully, and at the same time, his body is undergoing earth-shaking changes. As he slept peacefully, the system was slowly repairing itself, although the repair was extremely slow. No one knows how long he will last. But those who know about this understand. When this young man wakes up, the world of spellcasting will usher in another earth-shaking upheaval. Spring goes and autumn comes, and in a blink of an eye, 9 years have passed. Another year has passed. Gojo Satoru muttered, "That guy should have gotten enough sleep, right?" As he spoke, the boy put on the black jacket of Tokyo Jujutsu High School in front of the mirror. 9 years. It has made him grow from a child into a tall teenager, although his twin brother is the same. The striking white eyelashes give him a charming and handsome appearance. This makes him always attract other people's attention every time he goes out, which is unnecessary information for a sorcerer with 6 eyes. There are often big troubles. So he silently took out a pair of special sunglasses from his pocket. After putting on sunglasses, the density of information around me suddenly dropped, and the fatigue in my brain was instantly relieved a lot. Done. Gojo Satoru smiled. He had another pair of the same sunglasses in his pocket. After all, he's not the only one suffering from 6 eyes. Before you enroll, let's go to Hongxin Palace to see that guy. The boy smiled and walked out the door. Under the oppression of that terrifying guy, he has now mastered a technique with no lower limits. I'm afraid that guy would be surprised if he saw it. Deep in the Hongxin Palace. Ding, system repair completed, functions to be unlocked. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully achieving 100% proficiency in the walk instant step and successfully unlocking the Ghost Way proficiency. Ding. Unlock the proficiency of the Ghost Way, master the 4th way of binding this rope, the 31st way of breaking red fire cannon, the 33rd way of breaking blue fire drop, and basic way of returning. Gojo Ming didn't know how long he had been sleeping while the system was being repaired, maybe a year, maybe a few months, anyway for him. But it was fleeting. As the system repair is completed, the system prompt sound is accompanied by a warm feeling that permeates the soul. It is under the illumination of this gentle light. Gojo Ming's consciousness was slowly regaining consciousness, and his memories were recovering rapidly like the tide. Finally, is the repair complete? The boy's striking white eyelashes fluttered, and his consciousness broke through the darkness, creating ripples. It made him slowly open his charming pale blue eyes. What comes into view is still the unfamiliar, tall white ceiling. It was exactly the same as before falling asleep. But when he saw that his limbs and body were much slimmer than before, Gojo Ming was stunned for a moment. How many years have I been sleeping? But soon, he shook his head again, and a beautiful smile appeared on the boy's face. No matter how many years he has slept. Anyway, now he has woken up. The young man stretched slowly and moved his limbs and body. Although there is the nourishment of the spiritual power of the Zanpakuto, there aren't any major problems with my health, but I haven't exercised for a long time, so I do feel a little rusty. Gojo Ming murmured. It seems that the repaired system has new functions. Let's take a look first. Immediately, his mind moved and his attention fell on the system. Host, Gojo Naru. Zanpakuto, Ryujin Wakabi, Shikai, Sochirayuki, Bankai, other Zanpakuto detailed display room. Kendo, proficiency 100%. Boxing, white fight proficiency 100%. Walk, instant step proficiency 100%. ONI, Kidu 0% proficiency. Ghost Path Mastery details, mastered the 4th rope of binding path, the 31st red fire cannon of breaking path, the 33rd blue fire drop of breaking path, basic return path. Gojo Ming was surprised to find out his own instant step has also reached 100%. Furthermore, the system has also enabled the proficiency of the Ghost Way. At the same time, he also mastered the 4th way of binding this rope, the 31st way of breaking red fire cannon, the 33rd way of breaking blue fire falling, and the basic way of returning and other ghost skills. It seems that spending so much time sleeping is a loss or a gain. Gojo Ming murmured. At this time, Hongxing Palace. The 15-year-old Gojo Satoru is silently following behind a girl, who is Tenjin and Gojo Satoru in their true forms. Feeling the silent atmosphere, Gojo Satoru was the first to ask, "Master Tenjin, how is my brother doing recently?" The main purpose of his trip was to take the entrance examination for the Jujutsu High School and visit Tianyuan in Hongxing Palace. Moreover, it has become a habit for him to check on Gojo Naru's condition along the way. Although he said so. But he didn't hold much hope in his heart. After all, Gojo Ming hadn't woken up for 9 years. Of course, it is impossible for such a coincidence to happen today. Tianyuan paused when she heard the words, her eyes lit up, and then a hint of arc quietly appeared on her delicate face. If we don't go and see, who will know? Gojo Satoru was slightly stunned. What did Lord Tenjin mean by this? You know. He has asked that question no less than 100 times in the past 9 years. But this was the first time that Lord Tianyuan answered like this. Tianyuan, who always acted like a girl, just shook her head helplessly. The only person who could make Tianyuan feel helpless was probably his younger brother. Tianyuan did not move forward. She stopped in front of the passage and waved her hand, signaling Gojo Satoru to go over by herself. I'm not interested in seeing your brotherly love. Tianyuan folded his arms and said calmly. Although she also had many questions about her Zanpakuto Urarakazi that she wanted to ask Gojo Naru. But there is no rush, and Gojo Ming owes me a request. Hearing what Tenjin said, Gojo Satoru instantly realized what was happening and a surge of joy surged in his heart. Although he knew that his brother would be safe under Tianyuan's protection, it was not a good idea to keep sleeping like this. Is Ming that guy finally awake? Gojo Satoru's eyes widened, revealing his snow-white teeth. He ran subconsciously. His brother? My brother, who has been sleeping for 9 years, finally wakes up? He had no idea how many times he had been to the room at the deepest part of the passage in the past 9 years. Gojo Satoru let out a long sigh and took off his sunglasses. Then, he suddenly pushed open the familiar door. Soon, he saw the thin young man in the distance, and his eyes stayed on his handsome face. White hair, striking white eyelashes, and eyes the same pale blue as her own, although there have been significant changes in 9 years. Chapter 197 Brothers Fight. But Gojo Satoru could confirm that it was indeed his younger brother Gojo Naru. No one can play Gojo Naru under his 6 eyes. Ming, you finally woke up. Gojo Satoru said with a smile. During the 9 years you were asleep, I have been making progress, but you have been left behind by me. Gojo Satoru stood tall, staring at Gojo Naru with his 6 eyes blue eyes, his voice calm but with a hint of excitement. Outside the room, Tianyuan leaned against the wall with his arms folded, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Although she said that she didn't want to see their deep brotherly love, she still followed them. However, to her surprise, something seemed amiss when they met. I don't know, I slept for 9 years. Has that guy's strength declined? Gojo Ming naturally knew what the other party meant. He also saw the strong fighting spirit in Gojo Satoru's eyes. Come, it's a good time to stretch your body. This stupid brother, if he is not punished for 1 day, he will tear down the roof tiles. Not only did he not regress during his 9 years of sleep. On the contrary, the first 3 of his 4 basic skills of slashing, punching, and walking ghosts have been maxed out by the system, and his ghost skills have also been perfected. It's a good opportunity to try it out with Wu to see how it works. Gojo Satoru did not dare to be careless at all. In his eyes, brilliant mana began to flow slowly, a sign that Six Eyes was fully opened. He took a sudden step forward, and the marble floor of the room actually began to crack to the soles of his feet. "Curse forward, Kang," Gojo Satoru said coldly. A surge of cursed energy suddenly burst out from the room. Gojo Ming was a little surprised. It seems that Gojo Satoru has been practicing the spell very hard during these 9 years. Compared to 9 years ago, there has indeed been great progress, and he has already become somewhat of the #1 person in the world of sorcery. However, as a member of the Gojo family, he was also very familiar with Aoi, and he didn't think the other party could hit him. Gojo Ming smiled and said, "Is it just Kang?" However, Gojo Ming had just finished speaking. Gojo Satoru's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, which surprised Gojo Ming Glu. Immediately, a deep chill mixed with huge energy fluctuations surged from behind Gojo Ming. He narrowed his eyes slightly. It is a high-level application of Kang, using Kang to achieve the effect of instant movement. That's really a lot of progress. But unfortunately, although he has no cursed power and cannot use Kang, he still has other skills. Just as the black hole of Kang was about to fall, he has mastered the instant step, and his speed is no less than Kang's teleportation. Suddenly, Gojo Ming's figure also suddenly disappeared from the spot, and at a faster speed, and there was no fluctuation of cursed energy at all. All of a sudden, even Gojo Satoru's Six Eyes couldn't predict Gojo Naru's figure. Kang exploded where he was, and a large hole was suddenly blasted out on the marble floor of the room. By the time Gojo Ming reappeared, their figures had already crossed each other. So fast. Gojo Satoru was surprised. Should he have hesitated to hold back a little? After all, Ming had just woken up. If he was hurt, he would have to sleep for another 10 or 9 years. That wasn't what he wanted to see. But judging from the current situation, he was overthinking it. Even if Ming had been asleep for 9 years, he was still Ming. Definitely not to be underestimated. The moment of intersection. Gojo Ming has already started using white fighting, and his punches fell on Gojo Satoru like flowing water. Bound by heaven and curse, a top-notch body. Although Gojo Naruto's body is not in peak condition due to 9 years of sleep, each of his punches now still carries extremely terrifying power. I'm afraid if he gets hit by one punch, he will lose. After all, it's just an ordinary competition, not a life and death duel. But Gojo Satoru was not panicked at all. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and his body twisted continuously, and every twist just happened to dodge his brother's strong fist. Didn't miss even once. The fact that he can achieve this is the result of his achievements in the past few years. It wasn't in vain that I had received Zenin or Taijutsu training with Gojo Naru. Gojo Satoru has been training hard over the years, and his physical condition has always been at its peak. Much better than Gojo Naru, who has been sleeping for 9 years. After both brothers showed their strength, Tianyuan, who was outside the room, suddenly widened his eyes. These two brothers from the Gojo family are both evildoers. On one side is the pinnacle of the art, Six Eyes with no lower limit, and on the other side is the pinnacle of the body, the sky and curse of zero curse power. The exciting battle made Tianyuan marvel at it. However, Gojo Satoru has not yet used the power of stop of the infinite first technique, and his power of stop should not be able to deploy automatically at the moment. It's right not to use it so quickly. If you use it too early, Gojo Naruto will discover the weakness of the power of stop, and if Gojo Naruto forcefully delays time, Gojo Satoru will probably be dragged to death after the double consumption of his cursed power and physical strength. For Gojo Satoru, if he wants to get rid of this embarrassing situation of consuming his eyes, he must master the reverse curse technique. Tianyuan couldn't help but shook his head. But reverse curse technique is not so easy to master. It seems that there has never been a genius in the Gojo family who has mastered the reverse curse technique at Gojo Satoru's current age. In her opinion, Gojo Naru has a great chance of winning. She couldn't help but shook her head. In the room, Gojo Ming narrowed his eyes and felt the changes in Gojo Satoru's body shape. He also possessed 6 eyes, and his perception was no worse than Gojo Satoru's, so every time he threw a quick punch, he predicted it. Moreover, his punches were as fast as the wind. Even though his physical condition was better than Gojo Naruto's, Gojo Satoru couldn't help but look a little embarrassed. "Woo, why don't you admit defeat? Then I can be gentler," Gojo Ming said with a smile. "They are all battle-hardened. Naturally, I know that Gojo Satoru has fallen into a deadlock." But Gojo Satoru also laughed when he heard this. "Ming, don't underestimate your brother who is a few minutes older than you. Your brother is a genius. Undoubtedly, he loves his younger brother Gojo Naru very much, but he also has his own pride in his heart." Feeling the fist wind breaking through the air coming from above his head, Gojo Satoru suddenly fell silent. Next moment, he suddenly raised his head with a smile on his face. "Ming, let me show you my new ability, Unlimited Power of Stop." While his power of stop is being deployed, any aggressive object will become slower the closer it gets to him, and at the last moment, it may even come to a standstill. "Woo, you've made great progress. Ming, you're not bad either." He no longer dodged Gojo Ming's fierce fist, and allowed the fist blessed by heaven and curse to fall on him. His expression calmed down. Chapter 198 The Reappearance of Bai Xiaofa. Gojo Ming's fist couldn't touch him at all, and suddenly stopped just within a few inches. Although it was only a few inches away, it gave people a feeling of infinity. Gojo Satoru glanced at his brother with a smile and shook his head. "Ming, you are going to lose. You can't break my limit." Looking at Gojo Satoru, who successfully used the power of stop, a hint of astonishment flashed in Gojo Ming's eyes. Tianyuan's expression was relatively calm. After all, she had guessed it before. But seeing that Gojo Naruto seemed to be frightened by the effect of Gojo Satoru's power of stop, she felt a little amused. It seems that Gojo Naruto didn't find the weakness of the power of stop. It seems that he is really going to lose this time. Kids nowadays are really scary. I didn't expect that Gojo Satoru can use the power of stop so skillfully at this age. In this case, I'm afraid he is already the strongest sorcerer. If he can understand the reverse curse technique and reduce the consumption of stop power, then he may become the strongest sorcerer in history. She looked somewhat helpless. In fact, Gojo Naruto is already very strong, and can force Gojo Satoru to use the power of stop. But facing the power of stop, unless Gojo Naruto can now take out the cursed tool Aim Saki Hoko that can cancel any spell, no one can do anything to Gojo Satoru. She knew that the Aim Saki Hoko was in Gojo Naru's hands, but it was now stored in the Gojo family's hidden treasure house and was not carried with him. Therefore, Gojo Naruto should not be able to defeat Gojo Satoru. It seems that the two brothers of the Gojo family are not easy to deal with. The fist couldn't even touch Gojo Satoru. When they were only inches away, it seemed as if something was blocking the fist from the opponent. Looking at this strange sight, Gojo Ming was slightly surprised. Although he knew that Gojo Satoru in the original work could definitely master this power, he still found it magical when he experienced it in person. "Woo, is this your true strength? It seems like you have made great progress. I didn't expect that when I woke up, Gojo Satoru had learned unlimited power of stop. As expected, he is a genius in the world of sorcery." Seeing his brother stop moving, Gojo Satoru smiled and said, "So, Ming, do you want to admit defeat? In this way, I can be gentler." These were the exact words that Gojo Ming had said to him just now, and now, Gojo Satoru returned them with a malicious look. Gojo Naru. If the younger brother doesn't get a beating, the elder brother will tear the tiles off the roof. It is undeniable that Gojo Satoru is arrogant, but Gojo Ming is not much humble either. Next moment, Gojo Ming's eyes flashed with a pale blue light, and he chuckled and said, "Wu, it is undeniable that your stopping power is indeed very strong. But it doesn't seem to be invincible yet." As Gojo Ming's words fell, Gojo Satoru saw Gojo Ming's white robe and short hair suddenly rise up without wind. Immediately, a snow-white substantial ripple continued to spread out from his body. In an instant, a Zanpakuto named Sode Shirayuki, which was completely white and looked like it was made of frost, suddenly appeared in Gojo Naruto's hand. Gojo Ming silently sensed the icy glow on his hand. "There are some emotions in my heart. I haven't seen my old friend for 9 years. I feel a little strange now. Let us fight side by side again." Next moment, the blade hummed. Snow mist spread. The temperature dropped suddenly. With ice crystals scattered all over the sky, Gojo Naruto slowly moved his Zanpakuto up, pointing it directly at Gojo Satoru. Gojo Ming's fighting spirit was also aroused by the opponent, and he whispered, "Wu, let's decide the winner." Being pointed at by the knife, Gojo Satoru suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He looked solemnly at the snow-white Zanpakuto in Gojo Naruto's hand. "It's chilly up there. Zanpakuto, Sode no Shirayuki. Naruto, are you finally going to use your trump card?" Zanpakuto. This word was once the shadow of all sorcerers 9 years ago. Gojo Satoru took a deep breath of air. But now he also has his own pride, the ultimate unlimited technique. He is also very eager to fight. "Ming, do you want to give it a try? Even if your Zanpakuto is incredibly powerful, it can't break through my power of stopping. That's all." Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes were working madly in overload, analyzing Gojo Naru's movements in great detail. At the same time, he focused more on controlling his spell power. Such a high load. It made his head swell a little. In this state, Gojo Satoru doesn't think he will lose. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Meanwhile, outside the house. This is when Sode Shirayuki appeared. Tianyuan, who was leaning against the wall outside the house, raised the corner of his mouth slightly. Even if that kid has been sleeping for 9 years, his insight is still terrifying. But what will he do? Seeing this, Tianyuan also became interested. Inside the house, when the coldness accumulated on the blade of Sode no Shirayuki reached its peak, Gojo Ming gently rotated the blade and chanted, "Bankai, Baixia penalty." As Gojo Ming's cold voice fell, the terrifying energy fluctuations finally erupted, and a sharp sword intent came down from the sky. It surged towards Gojo Satoru with overwhelming force. Everything in the room, under the pressure of the sword energy, they all turned into ice powder. Feeling the horror scene, Tianyuan's scalp tingled, and she quickly took action to protect Hongxin Palace. "Those 2 guys almost tore our house apart." She took a look. His expression also became wonderful and strange, and he murmured, "I didn't expect that Gojo Naru could still exert such terrifying power after sleeping for 9 years. I have only heard of the power of Bankai before, but this is the first time I have seen it. Gojo Satoru deserved to lose. However, you used Bankai right after waking up. Although you only entered the state briefly and it ended so quickly, this can be considered as a demonstration to yourself, right? Do you know that I am not satisfied with Yu Lu Zheliu's state now? Their brotherhood exchange meeting should also be over." Tianyuan glanced charmingly at Gojo Ming in the center of the battlefield, lifted her slender legs, and walked into the room. However, she hadn't gone in yet. Then Gojo Satoru's unconvinced voice was heard. "Hey, damn it! Ming, you can't be considered a winner this way. Gojo Ming didn't care about that. He looked at Gojo Satoru, who was frozen into an ice sculpture, and said with a smile, "Woo, you've been frozen into an ice sculpture, why don't you admit defeat?" Gojo Satoru suddenly became a little angry. "I won't admit defeat. You can't break through my stopping power at all." Gojo Ming only froze him but did not break his stopping power. But Gojo Satoru must also concentrate on using the power of stop to resist the ice that is only a few inches away from him. Under the erosion of Sode no Shirayuki's coldness, his curse power consumption became extremely terrifying. Chapter 199, Tianyuan's Resentment. Gojo Naruto joked, "If you don't admit defeat, I'll leave." He pretended to leave. When Gojo Satoru saw that they were really going to leave, he immediately panicked. "Ming, UBD, don't go. I give up. I give up." With the crazy consumption, his magic power can't last much longer. If Gojo Ming really left, he will be in real danger once his curse power is exhausted. Upon hearing this, Gojo Ming smiled proudly and unfrozen Gojo Satoru. "Satoru, I didn't expect you to have made such great progress." This sentence came from his heart. Gojo Satoru turned his face away and said unconvincedly, "It's nothing. I've been studying the reverse curse technique with Shoko lately. Unfortunately, I still have no idea. If I learn the reverse curse technique, you will definitely not be able to beat me." His expression became even more unconvinced. Gojo Ming smiled and said nothing. Reverse curse technique is really powerful. If Gojo Satoru learned the reverse curse technique, the power of stopping can be deployed automatically, and the burden it and six eyes place on the brain can be easily repaired by the reverse curse technique. It is indeed a very strong opponent. But in front of the complete Bankai Bakushika, it is not as exaggerated as Hiren Maru's ability to freeze hope. But it is close to the extreme frost power. There is absolutely no problem in freezing the entire space where Gojo Satoru is. Seeing that Gojo Ming was not going to continue the conversation, Gojo Satoru and Gojo Ming explained the situation over the years, sighed, and said, "Murakami, you are old enough to enroll in Jujutsu High School. Do you want to come too? With me protecting you, you can easily enter the technical high school even if you don't have any magical powers." Gojo Ming rolled his eyes at him. "Anyone who can pass the entrance exam to Jujutsu High School can enter. Why would you need this stupid brother to protect you? Besides, my own Zanpakuto also has a technique." But he still said, "Okay. Gojo Naruto does have plans to join the Jujutsu High School. The Jujutsu High School is closer to the top of the world of Jujutsu. By joining the Jujutsu High School, you can manage your own power in the high school. If the college becomes a stronghold, it will be of great help to him. After all, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Moreover, the college can also provide continuous talent support to Wanchaiwu. No matter what Gojo Ming thinks, colleges and universities are a very suitable place to do business." However, just as he was thinking this, suddenly, "Ming, you finally woke up." A voice sounded from the door. The Gojo brothers looked in the direction of the voice and found it was Tianyuan. "Lord Tenjin." Gojo Satoru spoke first. Tianyuan nodded. She turned to look at Gojo Ming beside her, and said with a helpless look, "You just completed the Shikai with Sode no Shirayuki, right?" Gojo Naruto had been sleeping for 9 years, and she had accumulated too many questions to ask him. Wu Tiaoming nodded and asked with a smile, "What's wrong, Tianyuan?" He had already guessed that it was about Yulu Tuolu. Sure enough, the next moment, under the gaze of the 5 brothers, Yulu Tuolu appeared in Tianyuan's hand. She frowned, glanced at Yulu Tuolu, then looked at Gojo Ming and said, "During these 9 years, Yulu Takulu has never been able to successfully solve the problem. There was a hint of helplessness in Tianyuan's voice. Although Gojo Naruto had told her before that it was difficult to complete Shikai and Bankai with this Zanpakuto. But it's too difficult to remain motionless for 9 years. After complaining, Tianyuan calmed down a little, and she felt that she had appeared to be very calm. If it weren't for Gojo Satoru being here. She was so angry that she asked Gojo Ming whether this broken sword could be used or not. Not that she was really anxious. But she had a premonition that the time she could continue to maintain human existence was getting shorter and shorter. I'm afraid it won't be long before she embarks on the journey of evolution. And the solution that Gojo Naru left for her. Rain and dew on the pomegranate. But in these 9 years, he has never responded to her. If I fail to complete the Shikai before the end, she will be forced to evolve and separate from human existence. That long could very well endanger the world itself. I'm afraid no one wants to see this. Thinking of this, a hint of worry appeared on her pretty face. Gojo Ming on the side also saw what Tianyuan was thinking. His expression also became somewhat helpless. There really wasn't anything he could do to help Tianyuan, and to free Yulu Zhelu, it was something that only she could accomplish alone. But it did take a lot of time for Tianyuan to liberate Yulu Tuolu. But considering the time, it should be soon. Gojo Ming looked at Tianyuan, who had a trace of worry on his face, and smiled and comforted him. Tianyuan, please be patient. It is true that Yulu Takai's Shikai and Bankai are more difficult, but if it is you, it should be no problem. Tianyuan. Listening to Gojo Ming's nonsensical words, she felt even more depressed. It's not that she doesn't believe Gojo Naru. But what if something goes wrong and her consciousness is out of control? The impact it has on the world is truly huge. But seeing that Gojo Ming said so, it seemed that he really couldn't help her more. However, forging the Yulu Tuolu for myself is already a great help. She nodded helplessly and said, Okay, I understand. Here is Yulu Tuolu. Let me try again. It seemed that Tianyuan had nothing else to do. Gojo Ming grabbed Gojo Satoru's shoulder. If you have nothing else to do, we'll leave first. I'm going to go to the technical college to have a look. Tianyuan couldn't help but roll his eyes. Just make a mess and run away. But she couldn't do anything about Gojo Naru, so she could only wave her hand in annoyance. Signal them to leave immediately. Then keep going. Gojo Ming and Tianyuan waved goodbye. Ahem, Lord Tianyuan, goodbye. Gojo Satoru said goodbye. After the 5 brothers left. Behind the inner hall of the Death Palace. Tianyuan looked at Yulu Tuolu for a long time without saying a word. I don't know if Yulu Tuolu can be trusted. If that doesn't work, we can only use that method as a backup. Otherwise, if Yulu Tuolu can't complete the Shikai, the world is at stake. The two walked out of Hongxin Palace. Gojo Ming felt that the long-lost sunlight was a little dazzling. Although his consciousness was only asleep for a period of time, his body was actually asleep for 9 years. After all, I still feel a little uncomfortable. Here, for you. Suddenly, Gojo Satoru handed him something. Gojo Ming looked closely and found that it was a pair of sunglasses. He turned to look at Gojo Satoru and found that he was also wearing the same sunglasses. Showing off like a clown. Gojo Ming said disdainfully. This kind of showing off is a bit childish even for elementary school students. Chapter 200 Gojo Naruto wakes up. Gojo Satoru immediately said angrily. UBD, if you don't want it, give it back to me. But just when Gojo Satoru wanted to take it back, Gojo Ming took it, put on his sunglasses, and said with a smile. It's indeed childish for elementary school students, but for us middle school students, it's just right. Gojo Satoru. After putting on the glasses, Gojo Ming suddenly felt his eyes felt a lot more comfortable. The brain feels a little clearer. I didn't expect you to be so well prepared. Gojo Ming sighed. Gojo Satoru pushed the frame of his glasses in a showy manner. Of course, I am your brother after all. Gojo Naru, it's only about 10 minutes longer. Gojo Satoru, even if he's 1 minute older, he's still your brother. Gojo Naru. The two of them went to the Tokyo Jujutsu High School together. But after taking only 2 steps, Gojo Satoru's face turned bitter. He stared blankly at a dessert shop next to him and asked, Ming, do you want to eat some dessert? I kind of want to. I don't want to. Gojo Ming said lightly. But for him who is familiar with Gojo Satoru, he knows that when he says he wants to eat, he basically can't help it. When the other person really wants to eat something, he or she will want to eat it so much that he or she will go crazy. No, Ming. Fighting with you has used too much of my brain. If I don't have sugar to replenish my energy, I'm going to die. Just go there by yourself first. Gojo Naru. He turned his head and glanced at the Jujutsu High School which was not far away. Sighed silently. My stupid brother. However, it's not impossible to go see an old friend first. Tokyo, inside the Jujutsu High School. Although it is the start of the school year, it is not as lively as I had imagined. After all, apart from the big 3 sorcerer families and the Jujutsu family, I basically won't apply to this school. Other students with high spell power who are eligible to join technical colleges are often invited to join, and there is basically no fixed admission time for students. If nothing unexpected happens this year, there will only be 3 students in this term. Gojo Satoru, Geto Summer Oil, Ii Rishoko. Among them, Geto Suguru and Ii Rishoko have already completed the sign-in. Just 5 points of enlightenment left. Yagamasa Michi was sitting at the door, feeling a bit bored, and muttered, why hasn't that Gojo guy come yet? It's really too undisciplined. Suddenly, a young man with short white hair and sunglasses slowly walked over. Yagamasa Michi immediately became angry. Gojo Satoru, you're finally here. The entire technical high school is waiting for you alone. Gojo Ming was also stunned when he was scolded as soon as he arrived at the technical college. But the name that Yagamasa Michi heard calling out was Gojo Satoru. He immediately understood that he was taking the blame for his stupid brother. Teacher Yaga, I'm not that guy woo. Gojo Naruto looked at Yagamasa Michi and said helplessly. Hearing this, Yagamasa Michi was slightly stunned, and then veins popped up on his forehead. Stupid, don't try to use your brother's name to get away with it just because you're late. Everyone knows that Gojo Naru is sleeping. How could it be possible to appear in a technical high school? However, the next second, Yagamasa Michi was stunned. Looking at the 2 familiar-looking zanpakuto on the boy's waist, he stood up in astonishment, unable to believe it. Zanpakuto. So Chirayuki were you Hawakabi? Yagamasa Mika's voice was intermittent and he couldn't even utter a complete sentence. All the scolding he wanted to express to Gojo Satoru was swallowed back by him. Because, nothing can identify Gojo Naruto's identity better than Zanpakuto. Teacher Yaga, it's okay for me to join the technical high school too, said Gojo Naruto with a smile. Looking at the boy's bright smile, Yagamasa Mika's heart was trembling, shaking violently. You mean you want to join the Jujutsu high school? Yagamasa Michi swallowed and said. He can understand Gojo Satoru coming to the high school, but if nothing unexpected happens, Gojo Ming will be the next acting governor of the Gojo family. Does he still need to study at the Jujutsu high school? Yagamasa Michi couldn't help but be dumbfounded. No, then I'll leave. Gojo Ming said jokingly. Yagamasa Michi finally reacted and said quickly. Yes. I'll go talk to Principal Guankao right away. You go in first. He said while running and looking back. With a sorcerer with such terrifying potential as the five brothers, I'm afraid he can really fulfill his dream and change the world of sorcery. Gojo Naru originally wanted to ask where to go, but saw Yagami running away. He suddenly felt ashamed. Gojo Ming took a quick look at the environment of the Jujutsu High School. It was not complicated, and although there were few students, the school had already marked the start of the semester. It can be seen that Yagami is very dedicated because it is her first time as a class teacher. Gojo Naru quickly followed the signs and came to a Japanese-style room in the inner room. He glanced at the room tag. This should be it. Gojo Ming gently opened the side sliding door, and everyone inside immediately looked over. I saw that it was Gojo Naru who came in. The male teacher in the technical college uniform had a gentle smile on his face. Okay, now our last student, Gojo Satoru, has arrived. Xiaoyuja looked at the young man at the door and smiled slightly. This pair of sunglasses is great, as expected of Wu, he always comes up with something flashy. Iiri Shoko glanced at the sunglasses on the white-haired boy's eyes and frowned slightly. This scumbag Wu, if he were Ming, he would definitely be much more stable. Hey, Ming, that guy, when will he wake up? The girl sighed slightly. Gojo Naru. He knew from the look in their eyes that they had mistaken him again. Teacher, please add one more seat. There are only 3 seats left. Gojo Naruto glanced at the empty seat next to Iiri Shoko and suggested. After all, he has a stupid brother who is showing off his glutinous rice balls. The male teacher was also startled and frowned and asked. Why, Gojo, isn't 1 seat enough for you? Although Gojo Satoru is from the big 3 sorcerer families, as a teacher at Jujutsu High School, it is impossible for him to be met without thinking. Gojo Naruto didn't have time to answer him. Suddenly, at this moment, the sliding door of the classroom was opened again. Sorry, I'm late, hee hee. A white-haired boy who was showing off his glutinous rice balls scratched his head and apologized. Everyone in the classroom stared at the scene in a daze, their faces filled with astonishment and shock. Another 5. Next moment, as if they had thought of something, they stood up suddenly, their pupils suddenly shrank to the size of pinholes, and a shock flashed through their hearts. You, who are you? The teacher asked in a trembling voice. Hello, teacher. I am your brother Gojo Satoru. As for the guy who came in first, he is my younger brother, Gojo Naruto. Gojo Satoru, who had just shown off his daifuku, patted Gojo Naruto on the back and said happily. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audio Wave to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.